My entitled brother tried to hijack my baby shower by proposing to his girlfriend even though I expressly told him that he's not allowed to do that. And now, after I shut him down in the middle of him trying to propose, my brother and my mother are saying that I'm a terrible person, saying that because I'm so controlling, I humiliated him in the process. And right now, I honestly just don't know what to do. Here's how it happened. I'm a 29-year-old female and I am due in November with our first baby. We planned a small mixed baby shower at a local village hall, and we planned a simple meal with some silly games and a couple of speeches. Me and my husband paid for most of it, and my mother-in-law chipped in for desserts. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was our little celebration. A week before the shower, my brother texted asking if he could propose to his girlfriend during the party, saying that he wanted to do it because the whole family's gonna be there. But I told him no. I said I would be thrilled to help plan something special literally any other day, but I really wanted to keep the baby shower about, the baby. He kicked off for a bit and got my mom involved, who said it would be so lovely and that we would kill two birds with one stone. But I just said no again, and I thought that was the end of it. Well, fast forward to the day of the event, and during the toast, my mom calls my brother up to say a few words. He then starts chatting about love and family, and I see him pat his back pocket. He then turns to his girlfriend and starts to go down on one knee. But at that moment, I stood up, I walked over, and I took the mic, and I said, "Hey, we love you guys, but we're not doing this today. Let's please keep today focused on the baby. We'll help you celebrate properly soon, I promise." And when I said this, the room went dead quiet. His girlfriend looked mortified and ran to the bathroom. My brother then got angry and said that I'd embarrassed him and that he ended up leaving. Now, the rest of the shower was incredibly awkward, and afterwards, a few family members said that I did the right thing and that proposals at other people's events are really tacky. Other people said that I should have just let it happen and not caused a scene. Well, that night, the family group chat blew up. My mom said that I was controlling and that she had cleared a surprise moment with the venue, as if that's somehow the point. But I said I'd already told them both no, and that consent matters for parties too. My brother said I ruined his big moment and that his girlfriend had planned to fly her sister over next month, so this was the only time everyone was together. But I told him that we all would have turned up for him whenever he asked. But with that in mind, this is where I might be the jerk. Because the next morning, I sent my brother an itemized request so that he could cover half of the hall that we rented out and the extra drink package, which was $220 in total, since he tried to, in his words, make it our day too. I said if he wanted to try and use the party as his proposed venue, then he could help pay for it. Now, obviously, he hasn't paid and now says I'm being petty and really tight. I know sending him a bill looks bad, but I was so hurt that he and my mom just ignored a boundary that I'd clearly set. Since then, his girlfriend messaged me privately to apologize and said that she had no idea he was planning to do it there. She also said she doesn't want the proposal tied to the memory of my baby shower anyways, which I totally get and was really grateful for. I told her I was sorry for how awkward it was, and I would love to help them plan something nice later on in the future. So seriously, am I the jerk for taking the mic and shutting him down? And am I an extra jerk for the invoice? I'm willing to hear that I handled it badly, but I also feel like if I'd let it happen, the whole shower would have just become about their engagement and the baby would have just been forgotten. I mean, if you were at a party and someone tried this, would you just let it happen or would you step in politely? What's a better way that I could have handled it in the moment? I'm definitely willing to make up. I just don't want to set a precedent that my no doesn't actually mean anything, because right now I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong. Dude, I love this story so much because no, you did not do anything wrong. This is some incredible and crazy levels of entitlement. It honestly is mind-blowing. You mean to tell me that your mom and your brother tried to go behind your back and then they got offended when you said no once again? Like, you literally said, "Hey, I don't want this happening. Don't do this during my event." So for the mom to be like, "Oh, we're gonna do it anyways. Don't worry about it." Like, that's crazy tacky and so unbelievably toxic. So with all things considered, and even with you sending the bill, which by the way is a hilarious touch on this entire situation, I do not think you're the jerk, and I think you did everything right, because what your brother and your mom tried to do to you is completely unacceptable. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for not wanting to go into work when I'm literally not on the schedule, even though my boss keeps asking me to come in? Here's what's going on, because honestly, this is super frustrating. To start things out, I'm a 20-year-old female and I work at Food Lion. I work in the health and beauty department, and I work mainly on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays from 7 o'clock at night until 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't have a car, so I have a coworker drive me to work, since we work mainly the same schedule. I've worked here for almost 2 months, and my manager for my department has been pulling the same thing since I got hired. Every time the schedule for the next week comes out on Friday, I check it and I make sure that I know what I'm doing. And you know what? I always work the same 3 days. But for the last couple of weeks, my boss texts me every Wednesday, even though I don't work Wednesdays, and and tells me that I'm supposed to be in work on that day. The first time it happened, I'm like, okay, she must have like changed the schedule and didn't tell me, so I'll just go in and check it just in case. But when I do go in and I check it, I'm clearly not on there. She then swears up and down that she put me on, and I just shrug it off. It must have been a mistake or something like that. Well, the second time it happens, I'm not on the schedule for Wednesday, and I even check in with her to make sure it wasn't a mistake, and she said she didn't have the hours for me. Well, Wednesday rolls around and she tells me I'm supposed to be in that night. Well, today was the third time this happened, but I definitely checked the schedule on Friday and I made sure I wasn't on for Wednesday. And as you can probably guess, she sent me a text message and said, "Did you find a ride for tomorrow since your coworker isn't coming in?" But I told her, look, I checked the schedule on Friday and it said I wasn't supposed to be in tomorrow, and my parents are out of town, so I don't have anyone to take me up there. When I said this, she starts swearing at me up and down that she put me on the schedule. So tonight when I go in, I'll check it out. If I do happen to be on the schedule, that means that she changed it and didn't tell me. And if that happened, then I will just politely tell her that if she changes my schedule, that she needs to tell me so I can check and confirm. If I'm not on the schedule, then I'm simply not going in. And since I'm not officially on the schedule, it won't count against me as a no-call, no-show. Now, it's important to note that she had been accused of stealing hours from her last person that worked before me because she would ask them to come in when they're not on the schedule and then just wouldn't put the hours in correctly. So I don't want to go in and trust her with manually putting in my hours because clearly she can't be trusted. And according to other managers, she very clearly doesn't communicate with her employees properly, which causes issues that could have been avoided in the first place. But I also don't want her to keep guilt-tripping me into coming in when clearly there's a pattern here that makes me feel uneasy. So am I the jerk here? Because at this point, I just don't know what to do. Okay, I think your instincts are correct by being like, yeah, I'm not gonna go in, because your manager is clearly trying to play you like she did the other lady. Like, honestly, I would not put myself in that situation in the slightest. So no, you're definitely not the jerk by not wanting to go in, and if anything, in my opinion, I would start taking pictures of the schedule on my phone. That way I can send her a text message and be like, look, I'm not on the schedule, I'm sorry, but I'm not coming in. Because if she really did steal time from the other lady, you can guarantee that she'll probably try to do the exact same thing to you. And from the looks of it, that's exactly what's going on right now. My roommate ruined my credit score all because I trusted him way too much. Because after his girlfriend used my credit card to buy a bunch of stuff, she not only destroyed my credit score, but now my roommate is trying to act like this is not a big deal, putting me in a situation where I'm honestly planning to move out. Here's how it happened. So I've been living with my roommate for about 5 months now, and when we first moved in, things were honestly smooth. We agreed to split all the expenses like rent, groceries, utilities, and even small stuff like streaming subscriptions. And to keep it simple, we use one shared credit card. I'm the primary card holder, so the card is technically in my name, and basically he would just have to pay me back his half at the end of each month. For the first 3 months, it worked like clockwork. Rent was covered, the fridge was stocked, and nothing ever went unpaid. I actually thought we had a solid system going, and that he was one of those reliable roommates that you rarely get lucky with. But then it all went sideways. He started dating this girl, and without telling me, he gave her access to the card. I didn't even know until one day I checked the balance, and I saw charges to a bunch of makeup and beauty places, and a bunch of other stores that had nothing to do with our household. Makeup, clothing, random stuff. I mean, she was swiping it like it was her personal account. The worst part is that those charges maxed the card out right when we needed to pay rent and bills. And because of that, we missed the due date, and since the card is under my name, my credit score was the one that took the hit. When I confronted her about this, she just shrugged it off and said that she thought it was just her boyfriend's card. My roommate downplayed it like it wasn't a big deal. Meanwhile, I'm the one left cleaning up the mess. I've already canceled the card and I'm planning to move out soon, but I just can't shake how stupid I feel. I trusted him, and now not only am I out of money, but my credit score, something that takes forever to build, is completely wrecked, and now I just don't know what to do. Dude, what were you thinking giving that guy any access to your credit card? Like, seriously, that is such a dumb way of handling rent and groceries and bills and all that stuff. I mean, I've got to be honest, this is kind of like your own doing, because this is just not a good idea. Like, there are so many better ways of handling this instead of giving him a credit card and being like, oh yeah, I trust you. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think there'd be anyone that I would actually trust with that, besides like a spouse of some kind. So yeah, this is one of those situations where you messed up, but in my opinion, it's completely your own fault, because you could have solved this whole problem by doing literally anything besides handing over your credit card. Am I the jerk for refusing to give my friend her small dog back after she gave him to me, all because she couldn't take care of him anymore? Because suddenly out of nowhere, she's calling me up saying that he wants him back. And because I'm refusing to do so, I'm worried that I'm about to lose a friend in the process. And I seriously just don't know what to do. Okay, so I have a friend who a few months ago admitted that she couldn't handle her small dog anymore. She was stressed out, she was short on money, and flat out told me that she wasn't in a place to give him the care that he needed. She asked me if I could take care of him permanently because she didn't want him to end up neglected neglected or in a shelter. Well, I agreed because I love animals and I didn't want to see him suffer. Ever since then, I've become his person. I cover everything, from the vet bills to food to grooming and all the way to the toys. I'm the one that's up at night when he's sick. He's bonded with me completely and he follows me around, curls up on my bed, and is honestly the happiest and most settled I've ever seen him. In fact, I consider him my dog now because that's what I was told he would be. But last week, out of the blue, my friend messaged me saying that she's in a better place now and she wants him back. When she said this, I told her no, that she was the one that gave him up, and after months of me taking care of him, it wouldn't be fair to uproot him just because she changed her mind. When I said this, she blew up at me. She accused me of stealing her dog and said that I betrayed her. And now some of my mutual friends are saying that I should give him back because he was originally hers. But the way I see it, she made her choice when she handed him over and walked away. Pets aren't loaner items that you can give away when you're stressed out and then reclaim when it's convenient again. Now, I feel really torn because I don't want to lose a friendship over this, but I also know in my gut that ripping him out of the only stable home he's had in months would really hurt him more than anything. What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, this is an easy choice. If this really is a choice between your friend and this dog, I would choose that dog every single day of the week. Because just think about what she's saying right now. She literally gave up this dog because she's like, I'm so stressed out, I can't take care of this animal anymore. And that to me is a big red flag. If you have an animal and you can't take care of it, then dude, you should not have had an animal in the first place. Like, why would you put another living being in jeopardy just because your life is a mess? That dog, in my opinion, deserves the safety, security, and the love that this other person was never giving them. And guess what? You're now the person who's providing this. You're the one taking this dog to the vet, you're giving them food, you're grooming them, you're giving them toys, you're showing them love, and the dog's clearly responding well to it. And it's honestly just so disheartening that the friend's like, okay, now that I'm in a better place, I can take care of this dog. But at that point, in my opinion, I'm right there with the original poster. It is way too late for that. She gave up that dog and said point blank, this is a permanent thing. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. It is crazy to me that she's trying to be like, oh, I want the dog back now, please. You know, when it's convenient to her, instead of being a good owner and doing this regardless. Because in my opinion, giving back that dog would be a huge mistake. Am I the jerk for holding a grudge that I was uninvited to my boyfriend's mother's funeral? Because after being together for 5 years, I simply cannot understand why he wouldn't want me to be there. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my boyfriend and I are from the same country, but we met overseas. And we've been together for 5 years and we do live together. I didn't meet his parents until about 4 years into our relationship. He always had excuses such as distance, timing, and that his mom had dementia, and that it would be too hard on her to meet new people. But by the time I finally met her dementia had progressed and she disliked me immediately, which really devastated me, and I really felt like it had been left too late for us to form any kind of bond. My partner is also difficult. He values his privacy over connection and often puts up emotional roadblocks. Well, his mom passed away last month, and I assumed that I would be at the funeral to support him. He flew home earlier to see her, and I booked a flight right after that. The day before the funeral, I asked for details, and he told me, well, maybe it's better that you just don't go. He said I barely knew his dad and had not met the extended family, so he basically said it was not the right setting. I said I wanted to support him, not anyone else. He then went back and forth before finally telling me late at night not to come because he preferred to deal with these things alone. When he said this, I was devastated. On the day of the funeral, I sent him a kind message. He thanked me, but I did not hear from him until the evening. Then, the next day, he said to me, I made the right choice not having you there. It would have been way too stressful. He also said he had spoken to friends and family who also agreed. And seriously, finding out his friends were there just broke me even more. It's now been 3 weeks and I simply cannot shake it. I already feel like I'm low on his list, below his friends, family, and even nights out. Being excluded from one of the hardest days of his life feels like confirmation. And just for clarity, I have never suspected cheating. A week later, I did spend a few days with his dad and met some of his friends, so I do not think he was hiding me. He has never seemed interested in female attention and prefers being with his male friends. And right now, part of me wonders if I'm being selfish. Should I just be compassionate and accept that grief makes people act differently? Or am I justified in feeling pushed out and hurt? Because right now I honestly just don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, this does kind of seem like a big red flag, and a lot of people in the comments section of this story feel the exact same way. Like, dude, you've been with this guy for what, 5 years? And he still has not introduced you to his family? I don't know about you, but that seems really sketchy. And it also seems like he's trying to keep you at arm's length away from his family in the first place. Because you've got it right. Going to a funeral and supporting your boyfriend is a good thing. Like, if I was in your shoes, I would do the same thing for my girlfriend. It doesn't matter what's going on or like who I have and haven't met. I would still want to stand by them and be like, look, I'm here to support support you. So for him to be like, oh, it's better that you didn't go because it would have been too stressful. Like that to me is so weird and just a little bit toxic. So no, you're not the jerk for holding a grudge because I would be pretty pissed off as well. Because the way your boyfriend's acting, in my opinion, is kind of a big red flag. My boyfriend's family thinks that I'm bad for him, despite the fact that I'm trying to make the best moves for the both of us. Because right now, this entire situation is so frustrating that I seriously now just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. So my partner and I have been dating for a little over a year now. The highs are high and the lows are very low. But on a baseline, we both confidently feel we're doing above average. We've been together for the entirety of our relationship. We were living together before we started dating and couldn't live separate due to financial reasons. We had a rocky period in the winter where I went through a series of personal traumas. His response was to prioritize taking care of me over seeing his friends and family, and this was very kind and devoted. But as time has passed, I recovered and I went into therapy, and yet he still stayed in his isolated ways. I've pushed him to go out, but he tells me that he doesn't want to. He would rather do stuff at home, even by himself, and that he's just too tired after work and all this other stuff. Our other rocky period was last month. I received a job offer that will take me across the country, and to keep it simple, my layoff had me accepting work that was barely letting me do more than scrape by, and this job will nearly triple my current salary and will actually let me get back into my field of work. Both my partner and I agree that this move is best for me. We then visited the town I will be moving to for a week, and it turns out that he likes it there. So we've been looking for jobs in his industry in that area as well. But here's the biggest issue with all of this. His family hates me. They are exceptionally tight-knit and he is the youngest of three. His mother growing up was exceptionally neglectful to him, and his father was an emotionally awful person to the whole house. As he grew up, in his words, his family viewed him as a source of labor, and he was scared to so much as speak on the phone with friends at home, lest his mother freak out on him. He struggles with being upfront and honest with me about things, to the point of him lying about lying in the first place. So every issue in the relationship gets vented out to his sister, who has in turn shared everything with his mother. He doesn't really come to me about issues until they hit a breaking point. Well, it hit a point in the winter where they were pushing him to move out. And you know what? He actually agreed. All of this was happening while I was begging him to know what was going wrong. I would point out patterns and acknowledge that what he said at home didn't match what he told others, and he would tell me that I was misreading things. But I come to find out his family was planning on moving him out and back home. Ultimately, he ended up staying with me, and for a while it seemed like things got better. But then I got my job offer and it messed things up all over again. He started lying and hiding things. Anytime I would call him out on it, he would then just tell me something about me that he didn't like. Now, he received a well-paying job offer in his field in the city that I'm moving to. And for comparison here, he works in a less than ideal job that pays the bills but not much more. He has accepted it and told his family, who have since accused me of being controlling, manipulative, and trying to defeat him in some way. And this is really hurtful because these are things I told him about his mother. I am a highly sensitive person and I know that. I do worry that my mental health and perfectionism is getting in the way of this relationship, and when things get to me, they really get to me, and it takes me a while to come out of it. But I will say this is less frequent than the early stages of our relationship. I've told him before that it upsets me how his family's opinion of me is so low. I've never even met them, but honestly, I'm starting to think that maybe I'm the issue. I understand that they don't like me when they only are told the bad things about me, even though he swears that he tells them good stuff about me. But honestly, at this point, I don't know what to do, and I just don't know how to fix this situation. Okay, I've got to be completely honest. Like, your boyfriend is being really weird here. He not only can't think for himself, but he also at one point was like, oh, I'm gonna move out. My family has convinced me to do so. I gotta go. Like, dude, grow a backbone. What's going on right now? Like, I understand this guy had like a weird upbringing, but like, come on, dude. At some point, it's time to like stand up for yourself and like figure your own life out. Because as it looks right now, it just doesn't seem like he's doing that. So hopefully this works out for you, but honestly, if you want his family to like you, it's gonna have to start with your boyfriend and not you. Because if he's not saying good things about you, then there will probably be very little progress when it comes to figuring anything out. Am I the jerk for drunkenly ignoring my parents after my mom called me fat on my birthday? Because right now she's claiming that I mistreated her and even went as far as pretended to have a panic attack and going to the hospital, all because of the way I reacted to her terrible comments. Because right now I'm getting a lot of heat from my stepdad and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's how it all went down. Okay, so my parents invited my partner and I on a holiday for my birthday. And you know what? They even paid for the room. And for reference, I haven't spent a birthday with them in years as I've been living abroad. I spent the last couple of weeks back home as my parents and I are traveling right now, and things with my mom were better than usual. I had been really trying hard to bond with her, teach her yoga, communicate with her my boundaries, help more than usual around the house, etc. For reference, she has a history of commenting on my weight way too much. She has her own weight traumas, but I'm not obese. I'm just a little bit overweight, if that. Well, fast forward and the night before my birthday, and we're all out having a nice time salsa dancing, waiting for midnight to come around. I then tell her I've lost my favorite orange skirt, and she responds by saying, "Oh, well, didn't you see how fat it made you look in your cousin's Instagram video?" And when she said this really threw me for a loop. That's my favorite skirt. She grabbed a nice family memory, made it negative, and made me feel watched and judged. I then proceeded to get immaturely drunk and ignore them, and asked them to leave before midnight. My mom then apparently had a panic attack and went to the hospital, and this isn't the first time that she's had a panic attack, all because I supposedly mistreated her. Well, my stepdad has told me that I need to try harder with her, and that I messed up by reacting that way. So I really need to know, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now I just don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna echo what some people have said in the comment section on this one, because seriously, imagine insulting your daughter and then faking a panic attack all because they reacted in a way that you didn't like. Like, your mom sounds super overdramatic, I'm sorry. There's no reason for her to act this way, because clearly she's comfortable making negative comments towards you that you just don't want to hear, especially when it comes to your weight. Like, dude, mind your own business. Why tell your daughter, "Oh yeah, you look fat in that orange skirt"? Like, dude, we're having a good time and it's literally right before my birthday. Why would you make that comment and expect me to react positively? Did she think you were gonna be like, "Oh, you're right, mom, I'm so fat"? And don't get me wrong, who cares if you're fat? It's not a crime or a sin to be overweight, like, come on. But the way she's saying it really does make it out to be a bad thing and be like, "Oh yeah, you're a bad person because of this," or implying that you're ugly or like unattractive, which in my opinion is just so disgusting. That's so rude. So when it comes to you ignoring her, no, I don't think you're the jerk. Like, if I was in your shoes, I'd tell her, "Hey, I want you to leave before midnight as well." Because if she's gonna talk to me like that on my birthday, then honestly, she's gotta go. Because if I was in your shoes, I would never want to put up with that for a single second. My entitled mother holds a grudge against her sister for over 25 years. And all of this is over some petty, ridiculous thing that happened when I was a teenager. And I honestly don't know what to do about it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a video. At the time this happened, my mother was around 55 years old and I was 15. At the time, she had a close relationship with her sister. They talked every day on the phone. We always met with our cousins for the holidays, for a dinner, or for an extended stay. Suddenly, all out of nowhere, she halted all communication with her sister and started talking about her in a very negative manner. When I prodded to see what happened, it turned out that her sister had met a man. So why was my mother so upset by this? Well, it turned out that her sister had told her kids before she told my mom. And she thinks, given their close relationship, she should have been told first. And this minor offense was enough for my mom to see her sister as the reincarnation of the devil. Fast forward to the first holiday dinner with our cousins. Her sister's new man was there, a sweet older gentleman that is always smiling and fixes things with his hands. He seems to be genuinely good-hearted and has been since the day we met him. He carefully approaches my mom, greets her, and compliments her on her car. Her car was a very big and expensive one at the time. Now, my mother did not like her car, and with that comment, she immediately classifies him as a false person, claiming that he is trying to lie to her just to get under her skin. And from that day, she hated him as well, in addition to her sister. We halted all recreational communication with our extended family ever since that day. And honestly, it's been 25 years, and they have tried every tactic known to man to try and get in her good graces again. They surprised her on her birthday. They would visit her. They would try keeping her company when she was sick. But when they visited, my mom would turn on her manipulative charm, which is very easy to see through, and often would talk between the lines to them to send malicious messages their way without saying them outright. A very passive-aggressive approach overall. The sweet older man worked in construction before retirement and has led the renovation of our country home, spending hundreds of hours working on it. In fact, when my mother had trouble with her back, he rebuilt parts of our country home just so it could be better suited to her specific situation. This man was steadfast, but honestly, none of this mattered until about 2 weeks ago. They came to her home and he used a candle to lubricate one of her doors. Also, it wouldn't squeak anymore. And apparently, this made her change her mind about him completely. Since he knew how to use a candlestick to lubricate a door, he is suddenly an okay guy. And this honestly just baffles me to no end. But despite this, her sister is still not in her graces though. And I think she never will be again. And it's honestly just a ridiculous situation overall. Because this man is the reason my mom has held this grudge for over 25 years. And for her to accept him but not her sister is really bizarre to me and honestly just doesn't doesn't make any sense. Overall, I'm not sure if this will ever get fixed, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. How weird do you have to be to hold a grudge against somebody for 25 years? That's a long time to have some kind of problem with somebody without even taking any kind of steps forward to resolve it. But here's the thing, the issue at hand is not even that big of a deal. This entitled mother is literally just pissed off that her sister didn't tell her first that she has a new boyfriend, but instead told her kids first. Like, how can you possibly get so mad at that you are now gonna treat your sibling like garbage for 25 years? You are a terrible person if you do that, because it's not justified. It's literally just the fact that you didn't get the information first. And so now you're just gonna demonize this lady for something that she didn't do, when in reality, she has no obligation to do that. Absolutely weird, very crazy stuff, and I'm honestly surprised the original poster has stayed in contact with her mother at all, to be honest. Because if my mom acted that entitled, you better believe I would have taken steps to get away from her several decades ago, because nobody needs that kind of energy in their life. I was a bully earlier in my life as a child, and I recently got reunited with my victim in an absolutely unexpected circumstance, and now I don't know what to do. In elementary school, I was part of a group of kids that relentlessly and mercilessly bullied this girl. I remembered she arrived in our class later in the school year after the friend groups were already settled. She also came from a poor family, and since this was a private school filled with entitled little brats, she definitely stood out. She had secondhand clothes and she had limited school supplies. We would tease her, talk mean things about her within her earshot, never invite her to eat lunch together or play with us. We were just terrible and had unacceptable behavior. I also had been personally bullied in the past, and I knew how much it hurt to be on the receiving end of it, but I just went along with everybody else, probably relieved I wasn't the target for a change. Things got so bad for her that at some point, after about 2 or 3 years, she had to change schools. The final straw was a bullying episode during PE class that I've heard about, but I didn't witness myself. Yet I really remember how terrible I felt when we learned she wouldn't be coming back to the school, as well as for the role I had played in all of that. Over the years, whenever the subject of bullying came up, I thought about her with great shame. Some time ago, she appeared as a suggested friend on Facebook. I sent her a friend request, she accepted, and that was it. I could never muster the courage to properly write a message or apologize. Now I'm 31 years old, and I currently work as a graphic designer in an ad agency. And last week, I was invited to a meeting to discuss a new account with a catering company. When I got into the room, she was there. She's now the owner of this thriving business and my client, meaning that I work for her. She was also surprised to see me. She recognized me, of course, and briefly told everyone that we had been to school together. But that was it. There were a lot of people around, from her side and my team as well, and we talked strictly about business. But I could barely focus. I was so ashamed to be reminded of all the things I put her through. So now I wonder, should I try to apologize to her? I still have her on Facebook, so I can reach out through a personal channel, but I don't want this to be a selfish act to try and relieve me of my guilt, and I honestly don't know if it will be a positive thing for her, if she even needs closure in the first place, or if this will just bring back memories she wishes she forgot. Also, what if she sees my apology as an intrusion? This could honestly compromise our new professional relationship. Is this possibly a situation where I need to inform my boss about my history with this client? Maybe I should just pretend like it never even happened. What should I do? I think there's a few things you can definitely pull away from this. If she recognized you from elementary school, then you better believe she remembers you being a terrible bully to her. And yeah, you're both adults and she's probably worked through that, but I can tell you as someone who has been bullied, that scar is still very much there, and that pain is still very real in your life. Growing up, after dealing with some of the bullying that I was put through, even as an adult, I wish I could meet those people later in life and tell them exactly how I actually feel. When I was a kid, I was helpless to defend myself, but now as an adult, that has definitely changed. So coming back to that situation would definitely be scarring, but it would definitely help me personally if I found some semblance of closure by explaining exactly how I felt while I was being bullied. And in my opinion, no one deserves to be bullied. There's no good excuse for that. So in my honest opinion, I think you absolutely need to apologize to this woman. I can guarantee you she remembers how you treated her, and she 100% knows the pain that she went through. I would also accept the fact that you might possibly lose this client, which based on your history with this individual and all the things you put them through, might be deserved in my opinion. So that's my take on the situation. I would apologize profusely and let her know that you feel terrible for the way you treated her and that you don't expect her to accept your apology, but at least you can explain to her that yes, I feel terrible about this and I am sorry. I think in that same vein of thought, you should not expect her to forgive you for this. Childhood trauma is a very serious thing, and it is something that can be carried with you no matter what happens. So just keep that in mind moving forward and hopefully things work out. My boyfriend asked me to move in with him and then said he thinks I'm taking advantage of him, and I'm honestly not sure what to make of this. I had my own flat, but my boyfriend said I could move in with him so we could save some money for a place together in the future. It's a bit far from my work, so commuting would be a bit expensive. Also, it would mean that I would have to wake up at 5 a.m. just to catch a train, but he said he didn't want rent money, just help with the bills. His job is very high paid, about 4 times my salary, and his flat is very cheap. So I told him no, I would pay some rent if I'm living there. The first annoyance was we talked about this for months and all was fine, but when I handed in my notice, he said, "Do you think it would be best to wait until we've saved for a new place?" To which I said, "It's much too late now, I've handed in my notice, and the point of me moving in was so we could save for it." That was his idea from the start. He was okay with this. I moved in and brought him some stuff from my old flat, a new microwave, a kettle, a toaster, and some other things. I also bought him a new PS5 game that he really wanted. I cleaned his entire flat because it was a mess, especially the kitchen. I did a food shop and cooked for him each day after work as a thank you. All was going really well, and we would spend every night together. He seemed really happy, until one day when I went to go visit my friend for the weekend and stayed over. When I came back, he said, "Would you mind giving me a bit more rent money? Because I know I can be generous, but I don't want to be taken advantage of." I thought it was a bit annoying he dropped it on me like that after I moved in, but I ended up giving him more money. He then went out and bought 4 big bottles of expensive alcohol, and when I asked him what he's done, he said, "It's not about the money, I just feel like I'm paying a lot more, and you might just be with me for the convenience." I could not believe what I was hearing, and I said, "If you think I'm taking advantage of you, I can just look for another flat back by where I work because the commute is really inconvenient for me." He stopped and then changed his mind, saying, "No, that would be a step backwards now." He then apologized and said that he got worried I was going to leave him that night and that I was going to leave him alone. The way he's acting has really got me nervous, and I'm honestly unsure of if I even want to live with him anymore. What should I do? It sounds like your boyfriend is really playing some weird games. Like, why on earth is he acting like this after asking you to move in with him? And especially when you both have agreed that, hey, we're going to try and save up for a place of our own. Like, why on earth would he do that? Plus, he's pretending like you're not putting in any kind of effort for the home. You're sacrificing having a place to live that's close to your job. Also, you can live with your boyfriend and basically get to know each other better. But the way he's acting is completely inappropriate. You even stepped up on your own to pay rent without him asking. All he said is he wanted you to help with the bills. And now he's acting like you're just trying to freeload and get whatever you want out of him. And based on what's being described, it really doesn't seem like the case. So overall, this is a tricky situation, and I would really think carefully about how he's acting and if you would even want to live with that, to be completely honest with you. Because I know if I was in your situation, I would not want someone playing games with my living situation and expect me to not get upset and make some kind of decision that better benefits me. My boyfriend's behavior has changed almost overnight, and it's causing a lot of stress in our relationship. And honestly, I don't know what to do. I'm a 42-year-old female, and I've been dating my boyfriend who's 40 years old for about 6 months. For the first 4 months, we emailed at a pace and depth neither of us has ever experienced before. We often had 6 emails going on at once about everything. We talked about philosophy, psychology, politics, personal sharing, storytelling, what we like and dislike, you name it. We spent long hours on the phone nearly every weekend. Our record was something like 14 hours. years. We got along famously. We moved slowly. We waited about 4 months before we spent some intimate time together and didn't use the word love until just a week or two ago. In fact, we only recently defined our terms as girlfriend and boyfriend. One of our reasons for moving slowly is my history of trauma. I need to move very slowly and stated that up front. We are also more mature and both wanted to be adults about how we approach a new relationship. As we increased our intimacy, his work schedule also significantly increased. He used to work a regular 8 hours a day, but now he works about 60 hours per week. His emails have all but dropped off. He's unable to respond to much of what I send him, and I've in turn mostly stopped emailing so as not to bombard him. He's expressed sadness about this several times, saying he misses our written communication and wishes he had more time. He assures me it's not a sign of pulling away, but a consequence of his work demands. His behavior outside of emails seems to confirm this. He regularly sends me jokes and photos of his day, even just to say hi and to keep in touch. Most days, that's all he's able to send. Maybe some memes and a good morning hello. He comes home exhausted and then spends his weekend exhausted just trying to recover. We live an hour away from each other, and I've spent the last 3 weekends at his place because he's been unable to call and unable to leave his area. This coming weekend is the 4th one he'll be spending on call, unable to come visit me at my place. I'm considering spending the coming weekend alone at home to get some of my own things done because I'm finding it more challenging to run my own life always over at his place. The following weekend he's away, so it looks like we won't have much time together for another 3 weeks. He's acknowledged that there's an imbalance in who visits who and has said that he doesn't intend for that to be a pattern. But even with that in mind, it's slowly becoming a pattern. I'm concerned that this new shift in his availability is affecting this budding relationship, and I'm genuinely concerned that because we're so new, there isn't a strong enough foundation to sustain it. I'm an adult and also have a career job that can be demanding, so I do understand what he's going through. I'm also nervous that regardless of maturity levels, pulling away from deep intimacy and never visiting me will create a gap that's difficult to come back from. I'm also nervous that this is a sign of something deeper and troubling. He has the choice to turn down on-call work, but has said yes a few times in a row. He could also choose a less busy office to work from. He's making these choices to advance his career, which I do understand, but also worry that he's decided I'm not worth prioritizing. His stress levels seem really high. He is far less buoyant than how I've known him to be so far. His stress is showing in several ways, and I don't know if his shifts in behavior are due to this stress or personal with me. He started commenting on minor irritations about me. We all go through this phase in a new relationship. In the beginning, you see all of the other person's qualities, and once you get to know each other better, you begin to see the things you don't like as much. I'm finding it challenging for these circumstances to be happening all at the same time. He's commented or teased me about things like my communication style, my reading habits, and mistakes that I've made in the past. For example, his perception recently was that I talked almost exclusively about a certain topic when I distinctly remember us talking about all sorts of other things. He gently bugged me about it a couple of times. I felt a bit confused and hurt, thinking that his impression is that I dominate conversations. This is the opposite of what he used to say though, which is how skilled I am as a communicator. I know I asked questions and that we covered many topics, so I'm not sure if this is playful ribbing, him growing tired of me, or just his stress levels coming out in a funny way. Another example of the subtle shift in his apparent perception of my intelligence and awareness is that he used to say things like, "I figured you would know that," or regularly complimented me about my intelligence. Now that has shifted to comments like, "I know you don't read the news," which is inaccurate and stung a little bit, or would say stuff like, "You probably don't know this," and surprise exclamations that essentially boil down to, "How do you not know that?" He used to show the utmost respect for my way of doing things, like making the bed, but now he just makes little comments like, "The way you make the bed makes it look like you're covering someone in a shroud." And honestly, I have no clue what that even means. I've mostly attributed this to his stress levels, especially because he expresses similar irritations about colleagues when he's overworked. I'm also mildly anxious that this is a bad sign for a new relationship, and it's indicative of a loss of respect. A few other shifts include him talking more frequently and in more detail about his ex and his former stepchildren, and making what sounds like very sarcastic remarks. I went downstairs to fill my glass of water, and he said, "There's water in the sink upstairs, you know. I mean, you can do these things the hard way if you want to." I can't tell whether or not this is within the realm of normal. If any of you have experienced trauma or have lived with PTSD, PTSD, you'll probably understand that even subtle shifts in behavior can set off some internal alarms. I'm aware that I'm hypervigilant for signs of shifting behavior and underlying disdain or disrespect. I'm not completely confident in my ability to distinguish normal, healthy progressions in a relationship and signs of something more problematic, which is why I'm seeking perspective. So far, he's remained emotionally available and supportive of me. He's communicated every day. He's shown interest in spending time together. So I guess this begs the question, am I being too touchy? Am I within reason to be questioning these shifts in his behavior? What should I do? This is an interesting one because everything that's being described is almost super subtle. And to someone who's dealt with trauma and has PTSD from previous relationships, this is probably crazy magnified for them. And it seems like a much bigger deal than it might be. And sure, this could be signs that he might be drifting apart from you and that the long distance aspect of your relationship is just not working out. Or, in my opinion, this might just be something related to work. This man is working 60-hour work weeks and he's available on call for work. That seems like a lot. The original poster did a really good job of detailing a lot of the things that are going on that's causing concern in their life, which are all understandable. I think maybe having an honest conversation with this guy would probably be the best bet. Maybe explain your concerns. It sounds like this guy is definitely going to listen, and I don't think he's going to be someone to just push it off and ignore it. Like you said in the beginning, you're both adults, and I'm sure you can probably figure this out. Because it sounds like you have something really good going here, and hopefully this is not a sign that you're drifting apart, and that instead you can make this relationship work and have something positive in your life. My military boyfriend doesn't want to get married, even though I'm moving overseas just to be with him. Would I be crazy if I still went? I'm a 21-year-old female, and my boyfriend is 23, and we have been together for 3 years now. We are very much in love and have a good relationship. He is in the military, but he's not the type to get married at 20 and have 3 kids by 23. We have talked about marriage multiple times, but both agree on waiting until I graduate college and we are more financially stable to make that step. We've been living together for 2 years now, and we just found out he got orders to go to Europe. We are both beyond happy and so excited to go. However, when I started thinking of the logistics, I kind of realized that it would be very beneficial and practically necessary for us to get married now. Even though we plan on marrying each other one day, he was not supportive of that idea. He said he didn't want it to feel forced just because we're moving. I totally get where he's coming from because I also didn't want to get married at 21, but it just makes sense for what's going on now. For example, if we're not married, the military won't pay for my plane ticket, and I will have to get different visas than him. I won't be able to get on the base without him. I won't have a hiring advantage at the local base school. I'm a teacher, by the way, and I won't have healthcare or dental, and I wouldn't be earning extra money each month. I understand that it's not ideal right now, especially when I have dreamed of a big wedding ever since I was a little girl, but I don't see how I can move overseas with a man that hasn't married me. Would you go if you were still legally single? I would also like to point out that I am in no way depending on him. I'm about to graduate as a certified teacher, and I'm still on my parents' health insurance and dental insurance, but there would be no in-network practices out there. I'd have to go on base. There's just a lot on my mind when it comes to this, and I'm not sure what to do. In my opinion, there is absolutely no way I would go overseas to stay with my significant other if we were not married in this specific circumstance. There's just no way I would do that. You've listed so many disadvantages of going there without being married. You are literally paying for everything, going to another country, having to work out your own visas, and you won't even be able to live with him on base. There's no advantage to doing this. You won't have health insurance. It literally is only going to set you back. So in my opinion, there's no way I would do that. I would not personally allow my life to be uprooted like that without some kind of safety net to catch me when I fall. And also, this begs the question as to why your boyfriend is so hesitant on getting married with you in the first place. He's saying I don't want it to feel forced, even though you've both discussed getting married. You've also been dating for 3 years and you've lived together for a few as well. Like, wouldn't this be the best time if you really loved her to move forward and say, yes, let's get married, let's make this step? It's not the perfect setup, but guess what? You're in the military. Your life is going to be chaotic for the next few years, and there's not much you can do about it. It's either that or risk losing her while she's stateside. You're going to another country for who knows how long. And yeah, you don't want this to feel forced, but you would hope at that point you would at least be ready and know that, hey, we should get married and just make this step. I think from the original poster's perspective, also, you really need to consider that if he's not ready to get married, then he's not ready to get married. I mean, you are both young after all, so there's also that side of it to consider. consider. So maybe waiting until he gets back from Europe and seeing if that relationship is still there, and then you can make that decision if you're ready. But there's no way I would go over there unless you get married. So if getting married's off the table, then in my opinion, you should not go overseas. But what would you do? Leave a comment down below. Would you follow your significant other if they were in the military and they were going to Europe? Let us know down below. My entitled aunt tries to force me to watch her toddler at a party. And despite me telling them no multiple times, she intentionally kept sending her kids over to me to beg me to watch them. And I simply was not having it. Here's what happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk and hit the bell for more videos. I have a really big family on my dad's side. And by big, I mean really big. So I'm not really close with everyone. I was at my great aunt's birthday party, and I was having a good time, catching up and talking with all kinds of family members. I was just hanging out when one of my younger cousins walked up to me and kept saying over and over again that he wanted to play. I played with him for like 5 minutes and kind of made him go back to his mom so I could continue to talk to other people. I had the habit of playing with little kids at family parties, as well as having to watch them, which is fine because I normally don't like to talk to my family anyways. At this party, I was having a really good time, and I didn't want to watch any of these kids. So, thinking about my best interest, I didn't do it. When I went back to being social, it was just like it was for just a little while. But this little boy kept coming over again and again, and I would constantly keep telling him, no, please go back to your mom. A minute later after his visit, which at this point was starting to get super annoying, his older sister, who's about 8 years old, came up to me and said, "My mom wants you to watch my brother." I looked at her and I said, "Tell your mom that I'm busy." She then continued to tell me that I had to watch him, so I had to tell her firmly, no, I'm not doing that. Not only was this lady trying to get me to watch her kid, but she was sending her other kid to tell me what to do, and I honestly was not about to have that. I continued to talk and enjoy myself for a good minute, but this lady walks up behind me with the boy in her arms. I saw her in the corner of my eye and completely turned my back, and my adult friend pulled me close to protect me. She knew what was going on, and I am so thankful for her. I pretended to be busy and I grabbed a drink, and she walked off and did it again 5 minutes later. This may seem like I'm a bad person or I'm just misunderstanding what she was doing, but trust me when I say this, I'm not being rude. When I was talking with my adult friend, we were talking at the entrance of a small garage, and my back was to the entrance of the garage, so I was facing inside. This lady walked up a few feet behind me and just stood there. No one was behind me, no one she could be talking to, no reason for her to even be standing there. She was just standing there. This situation made me feel very uneasy and incredibly uncomfortable. I was even scared, and I don't know why. I wasn't sure what was about to happen. So I have to ask the question, was she being entitled? Do you think I was just overreacting? I just need some advice on what to think about this situation because it was so weird. My dad made me feel better about this because he said he would never make me watch anybody's kids. Also, this lady and her husband are bad people in the family. They are constantly under the influence and just all around really bad people. I feel bad for their 4 kids who have to put up with this level of manipulation. So was I in the wrong for this situation? Should I have at least watched those kids out of just some kind of obligation simply because she's my aunt? What should I have done? I think you did the right thing by standing up for yourself and making it very clear that no, I'm not going to watch her kids. It doesn't matter if you've done it in the past and they somehow expect you to do it again. In no way, shape, or form should you have to be forced to watch kids at a party where you just want to relax and talk with other people. In all actuality, this is the parents' responsibilities to entertain their kid and have something for them to do, or to at least have some kind of prearranged situation where you can look to some other family member and say, hey, I asked you ahead of time, can you watch my kid for an hour while I go socialize? It's really that simple, but it seems like people nowadays, especially if you're entitled, don't know how to do any kind of pre-planning, so they just spring it on a family member and say, okay, see you later, have fun. So good for this original poster for standing up for themselves and setting some serious boundaries, because entitled family members will never learn their lesson unless you stand up for yourself and sometimes just tell them no. I dumped my girlfriend right around the anniversary of her mother passing away, and now no matter how hard I try, she simply does not want to get back together with me. What should I do? Let me first provide some context. We were together 3 months, but in that short time, things got very intense very quickly. We'd fallen in love, to be honest. However, there were minor squabbles. Nothing major, but she had a tendency to stretch minor arguments out, often over 2 or 3 days for no apparent reason. I played a role too in prolonging these arguments by rationalizing my position. These were silly, minor disagreements, but I found the whole routine exhausting, to the point where I wondered if we should continue together if this was how the future would be. Fast forward to the start of July. My ex's mom passed away in July a few years back, and she was being extra argumentative that week. Stupidly, I thought it was just another argument and didn't think that maybe her mom's anniversary might be affecting her mood. So I ended it with her a few days before the anniversary. Honestly, I was an idiot and didn't think that maybe she was suffering. I gave it a few days to calm down. In truth, I missed her and I wanted her back. So I reached out on her mom's anniversary. I told her I was thinking of her and that we should talk after a couple of days. I didn't want to hurt a significant day with our drama. To cut a long story short, in those few days, she told me that she had a date lined up and didn't want me in her life anymore. I've been pretty much blocked ever since then. There were a couple of times where we texted and she told me to leave her alone. I thought maybe her anger may have subsided, but not yet apparently. I did send her flowers as an apology and she thanked me for them via text message. That was a week ago today. Since then, it's been radio silence. I do respect that she wants to be left alone, but also I want her to know that I love her and I want her back. How can I do this when we are not speaking anymore? Should I just keep up the no contact? Even though honestly, this is just so hard for me to do? How should I approach this? What should I do? I think your ex-girlfriend has made it very clear that she does not want you in her life. You dumped her around the anniversary of her mom passing away. If that happened to me, I would not want anything to do with my ex. And it's really weird for you to assume that she has to reach out to you in some way. Like she's already said, hey, stop messaging me. I don't want anything to do with you. And then you go ahead and send her flowers. Like, I'm sorry, I know you still love her, but she does not love you anymore. And I think you need to respect those wishes. And if you really do love her, then you would allow her to have some time to figure things out. In my opinion, if she wanted to get back together with you, she would have made the first move and done that already. But it looks like she already has another date lined up and she wants to move on. Plus, you've only been together for 3 months. In the grand scheme of things, that is not very long, to be completely honest. And to be honest, it sounded like this was not a very healthy relationship. I mean, minor arguments stretching out for 2 or 3 days? That sounds absolutely obnoxious, and I personally would not want to be in that kind of relationship. So in my opinion, just leave her alone. Move on, find somebody else, and work on yourself. Because you can find a relationship that doesn't involve your significant other arguing with you and stretching arguments out for 2 or 3 days at a time. No one needs that in their life. I'm worried that my girlfriend of 8 months may be a scammer due to a bunch of red flags. Yet despite all that, my brain and heart are at war, and I'm not sure if I should stay with her or not. Well, I'm probably an idiot for asking this, but I just have to do it. I am concerned that my long-distance girlfriend of 8 months isn't real and is possibly a scammer. This should be an open and shut case, but my mind has been fighting what my heart wants to believe, so I'm gonna turn to some strangers on the internet to get some advice and some perspective. To make a long story short, we met through Instagram, with her reaching out to me. We eventually transitioned to WhatsApp by her suggestion. After a few months, she confessed to liking me. Me, someone who hasn't been with someone for years or felt accepted, finally had someone who was doing just that. She was excited and has been saying she wants to move to where I live to be with me since we've been together. However, despite these claims, we have never spoken on the phone or through video call despite my asking. She had said we would do it soon, and then soon never came multiple times. And the only thing I've been able to glean from her is that she is a crypto investor. To keep things brief, here are just a few things that have been giving me some red flags lately that make me have some doubts. For one, all of her photos look like they were taken from a third party. Even some of the selfies look way too modeled. There are also large, intricate tattoos on large areas that are in one picture and then gone in the next. She claims these tattoos were just fake and she washed them away. She has also changed her WhatsApp number 3 times in the span of 2 days to avoid creeps, which could be true regardless. She also asks me for gift cards and has avoided giving me names of her family and friends, stating that I'll meet them one day. She's also wanted me to invest in cryptocurrency for our future together despite my hesitation. She's also wanted my bank account information so that she could deposit a check and wanted me to open up a second phone line for her to use. And lately, to really top it all off, she's been sending 1 or 2 messages in the afternoon, then disappearing for the rest of the day, and sometimes all the next day. I know I should probably be able to tell myself, but my heart really wants to overlook all of this. And it makes me feel scared that if she is real, then I would be ruining something fantastic. What should I do? This is not a real person. This is absolutely a scammer. They're asking for gift cards, they want your bank information, They want you to invest in some cryptocurrency that you've never heard of. She refuses to have any video calls and she's not naming any of her family members. And you've never even talked to her on the phone. I'm honestly surprised your relationship lasted even this long. I think the old saying goes that if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, and goes to the bathroom like a duck, unfortunately, my friend, you're dating a duck. Or in this case, a complete con artist. You should delete this person from your contacts and absolutely pray that you didn't give him any of your information. And it really sucks because these are super obvious red flags and it sounds like the original poster is really lonely and has never really felt it accepted like that. And shame on the scammer for playing into that and making them feel loved and wanted, all for the sake of getting their bank account as well as their money. I mean, this is just really gross and disgusting overall. But also, how on earth could someone possibly fall for this? These are literally the classic signs that somebody is a scammer. The second someone asks for gift cards or my bank account, I'm gonna be like, yeah, we're not dating anymore. Also, who is this? I mean, you've never even spoken on the phone or had a video chat. That to me is a deal breaker after like a month. So do yourself a favor and block this person everywhere and move on and try and find somebody who really will love you, because no normal relationship would have this many red flags and not in some way be linked back to a scammer. My boyfriend of more than 4 years doesn't want to propose, and honestly, I don't know what to do. I've currently been together with my boyfriend for about 6 years. We've been living together for 5 years too. Ever since we started dating each other, I've been very clear that I want to get married someday in the near future. We live in a country where couples live together like married couples do, but without actually being married. And to me, it is sadly too normalized. I told him that we needed to talk, and I asked him directly why he hasn't proposed or hasn't taken any initiative asking what rings I like. He tells me that he's been thinking of proposing for about a year and a half, but since I don't help out at home, he's been hesitant and says that he thought about the future. He says, how's this gonna work if we have kids in the future? And I proceeded to ask him why he hasn't said anything for almost a year and a half. He says, I was afraid of how you were going to react. I gave him an ultimatum, and I told him that if he doesn't propose within 6 months, I'm breaking up with him. This now has caused him to ask me in almost every conversation what rings I like, so I backed out of the ultimatum. It just didn't feel right, and I apologized to him. Almost every time I ask him how much I should help out at home, he gives me a vague answer like, just help out sometimes. I just feel very disappointed in him. He is normally a very reasonable person. I feel guilty that I don't help out at home as often as I should, but I work full-time as a nurse, and he works from home. I happen to have ADD too, but I have been trying to get things done at home lately. I've started to empty and start the dishwasher and sometimes help out with the laundry, but to be honest, I constantly feel like I'm the bad guy in the relationship, and I'm having a bit of a mental breakdown internally. I am now having even more trouble sleeping at night. I don't feel like I can express being sad or angry around him, and it's been like that for a while in the relationship, so that's not entirely his fault. After that whole conversation with my boyfriend, I ask him if there's anything more that has hindered him from proposing, and he brings up the fact that I want to go to med school and that he doesn't think I take initiative when we're spending time together. We both live together in a small apartment, so there's no personal space. He's always home because of work. I told him that it would be nice to get flowers for Valentine's Day, even though he believes that Valentine's Day is a commercial day, and despite my requesting, I have never received any flowers on Valentine's Day, even though I said that I would really appreciate the gesture. On our free time, we hang out with his friends and family, but he never takes the initiative to suggest dinner by ourselves unless I've said something about it first. I honestly feel like I'm being taken for granted, and I honestly don't know what to do next. What should I do? Your boyfriend does not sound like a nice person, and it just sounds like he's making excuses as to why he doesn't want to propose. It sounds like he's really just beating around the bush. To be honest, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to go to med school. If he cared, he'd be happy for you, because that's a fantastic career to get into, and I'm honestly surprised he wouldn't be more involved in trying to get you going. But instead, he's coming up with these really weird excuses as if this is somehow a deal breaker for getting married. In my opinion, it really doesn't sound like he wants to get married to you, and it doesn't sound like he's taking this very seriously. So if I was in your shoes, I would really be looking hard at this relationship to see if this is something that I want in the future. You've made it very clear to him multiple times, even attempting an ultimatum at one point, that you really do want to get married. And if he's not taking that seriously, then I think you really need to reconsider if this relationship is even right for you. Two of my friends are going through a divorce, and it's really put me in a weird position, and I'm not sure what to do. I've known John and Sarah since 2016. Those are not their real names. I originally met John first, divorced. We used to work together, but over the years, I became good friends with both of them. John and Sarah separated last year and are currently in the process of legally getting a divorce. They're really committed to staying on good terms with one another, so I'm trying to stay friends with both of them. The problem that's coming up now is that John and Sarah have this big party they throw at the end of the summer, which is a big event in our industry, rather than just a personal thing for friends. They decided that they don't want to just cancel the party altogether, but agreed it would be way too stressful to try and host it together while they're still in the middle of getting a divorce. So John decided to step down from hosting and let Sarah take point on the party. Sarah asked me if I would co-host the party with her, which is basically committing to working the party instead of attending as a guest. Sarah did not run this by John since he's no longer involved in the planning, and he independently asked me if I would be his date to the event, which I feel like means I can't be running into the kitchen to help his ex-wife with food and other responsibilities the whole night, because if I do that, that's going to make him look really bad in front of everyone. So this is definitely a situation where I have to pick one or the other. I haven't answered either one of them because I feel like no matter how amicable they say the divorce is, someone's feelings are going to end up getting really hurt. Am I reading this situation correctly? And is there any good etiquette I can apply here? What should I do? This is definitely a tricky situation because John and Sarah are getting a divorce. So helping one out as the co-host of the party definitely means it's going to be a little awkward for the other one when you're their date to the party. So you're absolutely right. You got to pick one or the other. In my opinion though, I think you should really go with whoever asked you first. And it looks like Sarah's the one who came to you first and said, hey, could you help me out with this party? It can be a really good cop-out, and if there's any issues, he can work it out with Sarah. That way you're not stuck in the middle, which honestly right now it kind of seems like you are, which really should not be the case. I think the riskier option would be going as John's date to this event, especially with his ex-wife running it. I think helping run it yourself would be a much better look, especially if this party is really good for whatever industry you work in, as opposed to being the date for John. Because you're right, you definitely can't do both at the same time. That would not work, and it really would be a bad look. So in my opinion, I would just go and be the co-host. It could end up being a really good networking experience, and in my opinion is a much better look than being John's date for the night, especially if everybody knows that they're going through a divorce. A lot of assumptions can be made with that, and I don't think you want to be involved in that. So yeah, hopefully this all works out, and hopefully John and Sarah are mature about this and are able to respect your decision no matter who you decide to help out. Today I messed up by blasting drywall dust through my home as I'm doing renovations, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. This happened 2 days ago. My wife and I are upgrading our early 1960s house with brand new appliances, so I recently removed the old gas furnace from the furnace closet in the middle of the house so we can turn it into a walk-in pantry. This left several large holes in the ceiling that I'm trying to patch. Based on the layout of the ceiling and the wood framing, I had to trim back a bit of the existing drywall, aka sheetrock, before installing new pieces of drywall to patch the holes. The house is old enough that if this was the original drywall, it could have been made with asbestos. I'm somewhat up to date on the dangers of asbestos, and while I don't believe it's the crazy toxic cancer 100% guaranteed boogeyman it's been made out to be, I do try to take a few precautions to limit my exposure just in case. I wear an N95 mask and I use a shop vac, holding the nozzle as close to the cutting tool as possible. So, on Saturday morning, I made a few cuts with my oscillating multi-tool, then stopped the vacuum and looked around. The air in my kitchen was super thick and full of dust. I figured I wasn't doing a very good job of catching the dust with the vacuum, so I held the nozzle right up against the multi-tool blade and continued to cut. But the dust in the air only got worse, and I honestly couldn't figure it out. So I finished up my cuts, and I started vacuuming up the dust that fell to the floor, and noticed the dust was shooting out of the exit port of the vacuum into the kitchen. And that's when I remembered that the last time I used the shop vac was to suck up water from the garage floor, and I had removed the filter. So instead of neatly catching and containing the dust, I was forcefully blowing it throughout the house. I ended up getting everybody out of the house, opening up the windows, and used a box fan to clear it out, while also running a filter for several hours. Now the air seems fine, and I expected to see a fine layer of dust on all horizontal surfaces, but there is surprisingly little. I also spent a long time cleaning out the shop vac internals, so that I won't continue to spray drywall dust the next time I use it. But is this enough? Should I have done more? Am I in the clear? I'm just not sure if I need to wipe off everything with a damp cloth, or if this is a sign that, yep, I probably should just move. What should I do? While I'm definitely not about to give you advice on what you should or shouldn't do in a situation situation like this, mostly because I have no idea what I'm talking about, I legitimately can only imagine how unbelievably frustrating that would be to have to clean all that dust off of all of my furniture. I think I would go crazy. And I also think I would probably hire someone to do it for me. The cleanup for that would probably be obnoxious, and I would not be a fan of that. You can always call like a safety repair place and ask them specifics about asbestos and see if they have any idea of if you need to do more than just wipe things down. And if anything, they would probably know somebody who could help you out with getting this cleaned up and making sure that everything's safe. But either way, I hope it all works out for you, and hopefully this is just an easy fix and you can get back to renovating your house. An entitled Karen steals my Nintendo Switch, tries to run off with it, but thankfully I'm able to catch her in time and get it back. And I honestly could not be more upset over the situation. Here's what happened. I am a 23-year-old male that loves to play on my Nintendo Switch. I love to play Super Smash Bros. And put nearly 300 hours into the game, but I accidentally dropped my Switch and had broken it. I was devastated because I put so much money and time into this Nintendo Switch. I walked to my local game store and left my game console there for a couple of days so it could get repaired. On the day I picked up the Switch, I was ecstatic. I walked up to the employee and I picked it up with a smile. Suddenly, right when I picked it up, someone tapped me on the shoulder. As I turned around, a woman in her mid-30s was staring at me, and in a very hurried and angry voice, she said,
"Excuse me, but let me talk to you outside."
I was confused, but I was in a good mood, so I obliged. Once me and this entitled Karen got outside, she said,
100.
I was confused and I asked her, what do you mean, ma'am? She then exclaimed,
100 pounds for your game console.
I calmly told her that I was not selling my Switch, and even if I was, I spent lots more money on it than just 100 pounds. Just for the Switch itself, I spent over 300 pounds, not to mention the abundance of games. The lady then screamed at me,
"You do not deserve that console."
She was acting like a toddler in a temper tantrum, stamping her feet and clenching her fists. I decided to just walk away and put my Switch in its case in my bag and walk back into the store to buy the game I was also coming to the store to get. After I bought the game, I walked out of the store and went on my phone. Suddenly, I felt something tugging on my bag, and then the zipper going up and down in a matter of seconds, far too quick for me to even know or react to it. I turn around and I see the same entitled Karen before she quickly starts sprinting off. I quickly chase after her, shouting to give me back my Switch. I eventually catch up to her and grab the Switch and put it in my bag, all with a burning rage. I start shouting at her, and after a while of arguing, I look at her arms and see the new game I bought stuffed down her jacket sleeve. I knew this was my game because she didn't even buy anything after she came out of the store. My blood started boiling and I snatched it off of her. After telling her to back off and to get away from me, I walked home in a fit of rage. Even thinking back on this experience, it still makes me upset. But I'm glad I got my console and my video game back. I'm honestly really surprised that this story didn't end with you saying, "and then I called the police." If someone ever tried to steal my stuff, I would have absolutely lost it on them. There's no way I would have let that slide without some kind of legal repercussions because of it. And the original poster said it best. This Switch, as well as all the games they've bought, cost them hundreds of pounds. And I would be incredibly upset if I had to spend all that money just to get my stuff back and to try and reclaim my property. Just imagine if she ran off with this and broke it again. You would have had to have waited even longer just to get your Switch repaired. So good for you for getting that Switch back and getting your game back as well. I just can't imagine someone being so low as to reach into someone's bag so blatantly just to steal their property. Hopefully this never happens to you again when you go back to that store. And if I were you, I would tell the store owner exactly what happened. Because honestly, you do not need that to happen to anybody else, because that would be absolutely tragic. This next one came from the Am I the Jerk podcast subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for getting another girl kicked off of our volleyball team for being incredibly toxic? Well, the title says it all. I got another girl kicked off of our team, and I'm really lost in whether or not I'm the jerk. To give some context, I play volleyball, and last year I played my first season of club volleyball. For those of you who don't know, club volleyball is basically where you just pay a lot of money and get very good training, and get to do tournaments around your state, as well as some tournaments out of state. Pretty much any person who has ever played on or coached a girls volleyball team knows that they can be pretty toxic, and often include cliques that make the other girls feel very excluded. Well, my team had one of those, and this clique involved 3 girls who we will call Scarlett, Amanda, and Brooke. Brooke. Those are not their real names. Brooke was nice to everyone, but Scarlett and Amanda had always, for some reason, been very aggressive towards me in particular. Throughout the whole season, I had noticed them to be less willing to high-five me or celebrate any of my accomplishments, like they did with the other girls. I tried my best to look past it, and honestly think that I was just as nice to them as I was to other girls. Later in the season though, we had a tournament, and I missed the practice prior due to a stomach ache. To this day, I don't know what caused the stomach ache, but I had been very stressed and my period had also ended a couple days prior. I knew it wasn't COVID because my brother had tested negative the day before. Regardless, the day of the tournament, I felt fine, and so I told them that I would be going. Amanda insisted that I had COVID and that I shouldn't come, even when I told her I was sure I didn't have it. Many of the other girls seemed to agree with her and even said they refused to play with me, so I called my coach and asked him what I should do. Because to be quite honest, I don't know whether to go home or not. He told me to get a COVID test, and so I did. The test came out negative, and I was a little late to the tournament because we had to stop, but I went nonetheless. When I got there, a couple of girls apologized for being rude, but Amanda and Scarlett refused to talk to me. They refused to go near me and barely even looked at me. While we were warming up, I was retrieving a ball and I ran past Amanda. As I did, she looked at me and said, "10 feet away, idiot," and then walked away. I wasn't sure what to do, so I ignored her and went on. That was the first of many incidents that followed. For the sake of keeping it short, I won't tell all the stories, but here's some of the highlights. She would often try and throw the balls at my head when I wasn't looking. She would talk bad about me behind my back, and she would refuse to help me with any kind of chore that the team was supposed to do together, and overall just try to isolate me from the rest of the team. Because of Amanda, I started to dislike playing volleyball, and it got to the point where I would come home from practice and cry in my room most days. I honestly wanted to quit at this point, but my parents had paid a lot of money for this. I really didn't want to waste it, especially considering the end of the season tournament was coming up. One practice in particular though, I got there and all of but 2 or 3 girls were almost completely ignoring me and refused to high-five me or cheer me on for anything, no matter how good I was doing. I felt so alone to the point that after practice, I couldn't hold it in until I got home and started sobbing as soon as I got into my dad's car. I cried the whole way home, all 30 minutes of the drive, and when I got home, my parents and I had a talk. I decided that I was going to leave because this team was honestly just not good for my mental health. I texted my coach along with another girl on my team who had been nice to me throughout the season. The girl then told me that Amanda and Scarlett had been talking badly about me and about how bad I was, and this was just to try and take me down a peg or two. I was one of the best servers and had the most playtime out of any of the setters. The other girls apparently agreed, which would explain them ignoring me all practice. When my coach asked why I left, I told him the truth. He told me that Scarlett would be away during the last tournament and asked me if there's anything he could do to get me back on the team, including getting Amanda kicked off. He also told me that he completely understood me and was willing to help me and talk to the owner of the club. Long story short, a couple of meetings with the club owner and a lot of tears later, Amanda got kicked off of the team. The problem is we had one practice before our last tournament and she was our best libero. Along with that, getting kicked off the team means that she can no longer try out for this club, which is the most affordable and had the best results in our city. It might even affect her chances of getting onto other teams, which is part of the reason I'm not sure whether or not I'm the jerk. The other reason is that after our last tournament, 2 girls came up to me and told me that they thought I was an absolute jerk for getting Amanda kicked off the team and that I was acting desperate and rude. I really don't think that I am, but I just need to know, am I the jerk for getting this girl kicked off my volleyball team? You are absolutely not the jerk. Don't even worry for a second. In all honesty, it sounds like Amanda was a toxic piece of garbage and was jealous that you were scoring so much points and getting so much more playtime than everybody else. Someone like this had it coming, and if it wasn't for you speaking up, this toxic behavior would have kept going. People like Amanda in this story are toxic just for the sake of being toxic. They're petty, they're jealous, and they have nothing going for them in life. So they do their best to take down people they see as a threat. And in the case of the original poster, you were exactly that to her, a threat, and she did not want to deal with you. So she did everything she could to spread terrible rumors about you and put you down at every opportunity. And I've dealt with something like this before, so I know exactly where you're coming from. And speaking up, regardless of what people think, is honestly the best thing to do. Because based on what you've described, you didn't do anything wrong. Amanda Amanda and Scarlett are absolutely to blame for this entire situation. And you know what? If they don't get into any other clubs and they have to pay more money, personally, I think that's a fantastic reward for being a toxic piece of garbage. People like this absolutely have karma coming their way, and it sounds like Amanda got exactly what she deserved. I cheated on my girlfriend, and now she wants to take a break. I've been dating my girlfriend for 2 years. Around 1 year of that, we were long distance dating. We moved to the same city to be together, and I've been living with her since January of 2022. I have been cheating on her by talking to other women on Reddit and saw that I had a dating app early on in our relationship. I never physically cheated on her. I also have a friend that has been an issue in our relationship because this friend would send inappropriate pictures of themselves on social media. I didn't meet up with this friend in real life ever, by the way. This issue with this friend has come up 4 times in our relationship, and all 4 times she told me to stop talking to the friend. I told her I would stop, but I didn't. My girlfriend searched through my computer and found inappropriate pictures of this friend that were taken all throughout our relationship, with the most recent one of these pictures dating back to March of 2022. This friend also doesn't know that I've been saving these pictures. My girlfriend also saw Reddit messages in which I flirt with other women that I see posts in certain subreddits. My girlfriend feels like she set boundaries and I ignored all of them. She said that she told me so many times to cut my friend out of my life because she considers this cheating. She told me earlier in our relationship that commenting on a girl's inappropriate photo is not okay with her. During our relationship, I told her every single time she asked that I was never doing anything that she would consider cheating. She said I lied to her for 2 years. My girlfriend tells me that she can forgive me and wants a long-term future with me. Here's the problem though. My girlfriend wants to take a break for a month and date other people during this break. She said I can set physical boundaries that I don't want her to cross with other guys. She wants a break because she said she wants me to take time to change and then to come back to her. She doesn't want to be with me while I'm changing because she said it's not healthy for her. She wants to date other guys because during the break, she said she doesn't want to disrespect herself and lose her dignity by putting her life on hold for someone that didn't keep their word for 2 years. I don't want a break. I told her I will break up with her if she goes on a date with someone else. I can't resume our relationship knowing that she's dating other guys. The thought of her with someone else gives me so much anxiety, and it's not a normal way to handle this situation. What should I do? The original poster in this situation is an absolute jerk. You are actively cheating on your girlfriend. You're putting her through so much anguish by communicating with these other women and 100% cheating on her. And yes, your girlfriend set boundaries, and you completely violated them. The original poster is so toxic, I can't even describe it. You've been a garbage boyfriend for 2 years, and she does not deserve that. And now when she wants to date other men during this break, suddenly you have a problem with that? You should be lucky that she's even taking you back. If anything, the original poster has just proved outright that no, his girlfriend cannot trust him. Like your girlfriend didn't do anything wrong. Literally all the fault lays on you. So get some help and break out of this relationship, because if you really love this girl, then you would stop trying to hurt her. And what you're doing right now is absolutely damaging her completely. Today, I messed up by provoking some very angry Dutch farmers. I'm not sure if the manure protests have been in the news outside the Netherlands, but our farmers are very angry about new emissions legislation and have been spraying and dumping manure all over the place to protest. I'm just a low-level city worker here, but part of my work does involve environmental as well as emission regulations, and I have been very vocal in the past that I support the new laws and think that the benefits are completely worth it. So I'm sure some of them were at least vaguely aware of me, and not in a good way. Truthfully, I had been somewhat removed from the effects of the protests, and maybe underestimated the severity. And in all honesty, this is where my mess up begins. I tweeted something last week when I saw the latest news, basically stating that if you think slinging dung everywhere will change our minds, we're not scared of it. I've had enough pets to know where to put manure, in the same garbage can as your ideas. After I posted this, I think at least one of them noticed and told the rest of the mob, because when I showed up to work after the weekend, the entire small building where I work was covered in manure. And when I saw what happened, and after reflecting on the tweet I sent out to the internet, this definitely was not what I had in mind. When I heard of these protests, I thought it was just a few buckets being dumped in the road here and there. But when I rolled up to work, the stench was unbearable, and I absolutely wasn't able to go inside. It was that much. It was stuck to the windows, and there was was at least 3 centimeters deep of sticky, wet stuff in the entryways, the lawn, as well as the walkways. Everything was saturated. I was told a few hours later that the worst of it is cleaned up by some poor cleaning crew, but honestly, the stench is so horrid that I'm really just considering taking a sick day. So I honestly wish I didn't send that tweet out, and next time I'll think twice about upsetting some very angry Dutch farmers. Now, I'm not sure if any of you have ever smelled pure manure, but it is absolutely rancid. I can't think of anything that smells worse than that. So when this guy says that his whole building was covered in it, I believe him. I've seen some of these protests online, and these farmers are absolutely upset. They really don't like this new law, as apparently it completely uproots how they do things, and it does not sit well with them or their business. So they are literally launching manure all over the place, and I legitimately don't know how anybody's able to get anything done. This stuff is so vile, I literally would not be able to even get close to it. And what a mess that must have been to clean up. To the cleaning crew that had to take care of that and clean up all that disgusting grossness, you absolutely deserve a raise, because there is no way I could ever go through that and make it out the other side as the same person. And while I think there are better ways to protest than to spray manure everywhere, but I also don't want to upset these Dutch farmers and have them drive to America only for them to then start spraying manure where I live. All jokes aside, this is a really gross situation, and hopefully it all gets worked out soon and both sides are able to have some kind of middle ground that they can go to. Otherwise, the Netherlands is going to be really stinky for quite a while. My job is an absolute nightmare, and I'm just not sure if I should quit or not. For context, I've worked in hospitality my entire career, and I've never worked anywhere like this. I understand there's a level of chaos inherent when you work at hotels, but this place is off the chain. I started working at this hotel, part of a larger chain, about 2 months ago. I worked day shift for 2 weeks to get the feel for the place, then moved to my permanent position as a night auditor. Just since I've started, another employee has been harassing me and stalking me on the clock 4 times. We've brought it up to management, but there's still no response to it at all. The security in this place is a joke. Cameras only record in a few spots, mostly just the parking lot and the cash registers. About a week and a half ago, a guest was able to access our back office. This was pretty easy because the guest stairwell door opens right into the office, and it doesn't lock. He stole a maintenance uniform, a respirator, rubber boots, and latex gloves. He had a weapon. He watched the auditors who were working that night until they saw him, and he barricaded himself in the security room. He was, of course, arrested, and this happened on a Thursday, and management said they would have a meeting and let us know what they were going to do about it, such as, I don't know, getting a functional locks for the office, or get the cameras working, or just make sure we're never working alone. But by Monday, guess what? It was still radio silence, and one manager told the girls it was their fault. This is a huge hotel with a full-service bar and restaurant. We're left working alone way too often, with responsibilities that pull us away from the desk for about 20 minutes at a time. Meanwhile, just about anybody can very easily walk back there and get into our office. All of this aside, the conditions are awful. They refuse to run air conditioning to the front desk, and the lobby is all glass, so it's typically at least 85 degrees Fahrenheit, especially during the summer. With the heat waves recently, it's been 90 to 95 degrees. The building is filthy and falling apart. You can feel the floor joints when you walk through the guest hallways, because there isn't any subflooring underneath the carpet. The sewage pipe bursted and flooded 3 floors, and they didn't even clean the wastewater. I don't know if I can rent this place out to anybody for $150 a night much longer. And it literally doesn't feel like it's worth going to management to fight for better conditions, because they're so slow moving and they don't do anything anyways. So should I just get out of this place and find a new job? What should I do? That sounds like a really terrible job, to be completely honest with you. It's one thing to have terrible customers and clients to have to put up with on a daily basis, but it's another thing entirely to watch the building fall apart, for basic security to not be in place, and for management to drag their feet in keeping you safe. That is personally just absolutely unacceptable. And the fact that some psychopath barricaded themselves in your office and management had the audacity to blame the staff was more than enough for me to say confidently that you absolutely need to find another job. This one does not have your best interest in mind. They don't care about you, and at the base level, safety should be the most important thing. And they went around and tried to blame the rest of you for something that could have easily been avoided if certain safety protocols were just in place. So that's my opinion. I would honestly give get out of there and start looking for something else. If you can, get out of there with another job lined up, but if you just straight up quit, I don't blame you as well. Also, I think it's worth noting, you should definitely report these people to OSHA. There is absolutely nothing your management could do to stop you from doing that, and they can't fire you for reporting unsafe work conditions. And trust me, nothing will get things moving faster than an OSHA violation looming over this management team. They do not want that because that's a nightmare to deal with. So honestly, get out of there and get out of there fast, because these people do not have your best interests in mind, and you can find a job that's going to actually provide some semblance of security for you and make you feel safe and comfortable as you work. My entitled mother steals my collectible coins worth a lot of money and eventually gets caught. And when I confront her about this, she lies to my face. And I honestly could not be more disgusted. Today, I unlocked an old memory from when I was a teenager. Important for context, in my country from time to time, a new special coin is made. It has the same value as the others, and the only reason it's special is because of something engraved in it. It can be an animal or an important person. People like to collect them just because they are pretty, and others like to collect them to have a formal collection. This has been going on since the 2000s. Now onto the story. My best friend's aunt worked at a bank where these coins were ordered, and because of that, she had the same coins but laminated. She gave each of us one every time a new one came out, so I had a pretty big collection of those. You could get an album to store them in, but I wasn't into that much, so I had them stored, dreaming of a time where they would be worth a lot of money. Well, that was a time I used to live with my parents, and honestly, I don't have a great history with them, but they gave me a free roof over my head and food in my belly, all until I moved. I remember I traveled for a month and came back to my room evidently fully searched. I used to smoke a lot of herb in there, if you know what I mean. So coming back to my room that was very obviously rummaged through, I figured she was searching for that, and I didn't care as I didn't really cover it up. Upon further inspection in my room, I realized very quickly that my coins were missing. I had originally about 20 of them, but I only found 4 or 5 in my drawer. I was absolutely shocked by this. Worst of all, I knew it was my mother who had done this, because my father would never go through my room like this. So I confronted my mother, and once I did, she said she was only looking at them and wanted my father to see them. I know this is absolute BS, but what else can I do? I took what was left and I just hid them. What she did to the rest, I will never know. And I don't know if she sold them or used them as gifts. As a kid, I hid my stuff all the time, but I guess she took her time when she thought it was worth it, just so she could get to my coins and try and take them for herself. Much to my demise and to my own regret, even once I did get these coins back, I later discovered that 4 or 5 of them are still missing, and my only conclusion is that my mother stole those as well. And honestly, that is just overall incredibly disappointing. How disgusting of the mom to do that. She waited until her son was gone on some kind of trip for a month, and then just straight up raided his room as if he's never coming back. And she wasn't even subtle about it. She just blatantly started looking through stuff, and when she found what she wanted, she took it and ran. And that's just really disappointing, to be completely honest with you. I know if I was collecting something as a kid and somebody stole it, I would be heartbroken. But even after that of getting it back from your mom who stole it, you not only find out that some of it's missing, but then when you finally get it back officially, she steals some more of it again. I mean, personally, that is not a family I would want to keep in contact with. So I'm really sorry that that happened to you in your childhood and that your mom was such a piece of garbage, but at least you have your own life as an adult now, and hopefully you're able to redeem your own childhood and hopefully get some of those coins back in your possession. I'm not sure how much those things cost or what kind of process that would be to get some of the originals from the early 2000s, but I think it would be fun to at least collect those again and to complete the collection with what you did have, because you deserve it. You worked hard as a kid, and I think you owe it to yourself to replace those coins and to complete your collection. My dad won't stop coming to my apartment, and it's honestly driving me and my mom insane, and we're not sure what to do. My mom and I recently bought an apartment together where we split the rent and I cover the utility bills. It was intended to be a place just for her and me while my father continued to stay with his extended family. When my mom and I are together, we help each other out on chores and other needs for the house. It's a nice cooperative relationship, but with my dad in the picture, things tend to get difficult. He sort of forces himself into our small 2-bedroom apartment, kicking my mom out of her bed until she was forced to get an air mattress to sleep on in her own place. He makes us cook for him, clean for him, and he won't even get his own clothes out of the bathroom after he bathes. At any point in time, he'll make us drop whatever we're doing to attend to his needs. When he's here, neither me or my mom get any good rest? There was even a point in time where he took my mom's bed, forcing her to sleep on a thin spare mattress with a thin blanket because she and I wouldn't fit on my single bed. Recently, he took a leave off work. He used to come only once or twice a week, which is fine. He's family and it's nice to see him, but now he's here almost every day, and I don't want my mom to keep sleeping on an air mattress and attend to his needs. I tried to talk to him about it once, but he got extremely defensive. He said he just wanted to be with us and that he's not asking much. Of course I want to see my dad, but I don't want to see him 24/7. That was the entire point of us moving out. He is crossing a boundary and I can't seem to get him to see reason. We are absolutely miserable with him. My mom and I can't last another 2 weeks like this, and I honestly don't know what to do. My first immediate question with this story is why don't they get a divorce? But thankfully, the original poster went on to explain that in the country they live in, divorce doesn't really exist. So this is a soft separation for them, while also explaining that the dad in this situation treats his kids as well as his wife just like this all the time. He sits around and makes them do everything for him. And for me, it's starting to add up why the mom and the daughter decided, hey, I'm gonna get away from him. Because this behavior is just absolutely unacceptable. Like they moved away for a reason, and the mom is no longer with the husband because, well, divorce isn't an option, which is really unfortunate to be completely honest. And it's really disappointing that this guy is disrespecting these boundaries and coming in and basically moving in. I think at this point, it's time to just start saying no and denying him access to your apartment. You need to be very firm and say no, you cannot come in. This might be the only way for him to catch on and to know that, hey, I'm not welcome here. Like sure, maybe once or twice a week for dinner, but not to move in and kick my mom out of her bed. I think you should also encourage your mom to try and have this conversation with him. He clearly does not understand that this is a soft separation. From the sounds of it, he's just not going with that at all. So I think you need to lay down some very serious ground rules, and if anything, change the locks on your apartment. There's a good chance you probably gave him a key to your house, and honestly, you gotta get rid of that. So hopefully this works out, and hopefully he's able to see that no, he's not welcome here all the time, and that he needs to start respecting boundaries or he's just not gonna be able to come over. My fiance is always grilling me about what I'm doing on my phone, and it has gotten so obnoxious and completely exhausting. My fiance and I have been together for a year and a half. I am absolutely in love with this woman, but lately I've found myself depressed, incredibly stressed out, and possibly less in love with her. I work in IT for a private group of physicians. It is a small company and everyone is sort of close-knit. I use my own personal cell phone for work things. This was my choice as I don't like carrying around two phones. And the people I work with call and text me a lot, almost every day, mostly through text message. I befriended one of our employees who is female a few years back. Completely just one of those things where a lot of people we work with are kind of lame, so there's not really anyone to talk to, but we are more social and open, so we became friendly at work. I have messaged this friend about work things, work gossip, and everything in between, and even asked her about the ring I bought my fiance, just so I could get another woman's opinion, as well as the plans I had for the proposal. A few months ago, while at a work gathering that my fiance was invited to, we were all sitting at the same table, and the coworker goes on and on about the things we talked about, how excited she was about the engagement, work gossip stuff, and so on. This apparently bothered my fiance quite a bit, and she asked me a ton of questions about how much I talk to this person, as well as what I'm talking about, and if she ever flirts or if I ever flirt. She was going after every little detail. I assured her that nobody was flirting, and I answered all of her questions in detail. And even though I'm giving detail, she wanted even more detail. That happened about 3 months ago, and since then, I pretty much cannot use my phone around my fiance. She is constantly asking me what I am doing, who I am talking to, and what's that notification all about. Pretty much the whole 9 yards. To make matters even worse, this coworker texted me a few weeks ago before I left the house for work about a problem on her computer. She included a couple of emojis like a sad face and an angry face, and to be honest, this person uses a lot of emojis, and I do as well. I quite enjoy them, and they are a great way to present emotion in text messages, in my opinion at least. I was in the shower when I got the message. My fiance saw it, told me someone texted me, and I asked her to read it to me. She was instantly upset about it, and I could tell, but I blew it off knowing she had an issue with me being friends with this person, but I still had a job to do. This wasn't a message like, hey, what are you doing for lunch today, or anything like that, but rather it was a, hey, my computer isn't connecting to the VPN, sad face, angry face, can you check it out later? Well, later that day, I get home and I can tell she's bothered, but it was so ridiculous in my opinion, I just ignored it and hoped she would realize how ridiculous it was and just move on. It was sort of forgotten about for the time being, and the next days were normal until about a week ago when a doctor called me after hours at home. There were some files locked in someone else's computer, and the doctor asked, which computer ID is 799? These are files locked and I need them unlocked right now. I said, 799. Oh, that's my female coworker's computer, which just so happens to be the one I'm friends with. Yeah, I noticed earlier today she had a lot of files locked up. Everyone was pretty busy today. She probably just forgot to release them before logging out. The doctor says okay and gives them a call to have those files released. All of a sudden, I am absolutely bombarded with questions, as well as the shower text message being brought up too. My fiance says, so you just know her computer number from memory? You knew she was busy today? And so on and so on. I start answering her questions and explain that yes, I manage like 70 computers and I know all of their numbers. And yes, I've been at this job for 12 years. Of course I would know the numbers. And yes, I saw she was busy. I saw that everyone was busy. Literally part of my job is to monitor those things. I continued answering every detail and even showed her on Snapchat the next day all of those things I do at work to try and make her understand and ease her mind. However, ever since the work gathering, I pretty much cannot use my phone around my fiance because she always asks me who I am talking to and what I am doing and wants to know all of the details about everything. Eventually, I brought this up to my fiance and said, hey, look, is there a problem here? I feel like I just can't use my phone around you. Do you not trust me or what is going on? She says no, she trusts me. She just gets in her head sometimes. And that was pretty much that. I was vocal about this bothering me, but it was kind of brushed aside and we moved on, except it kept happening. So in order to stop all the questions, I've just stopped talking to people or checking social media, news, emails, everything. I have turned off notifications for almost every app on my phone. I have found that by doing this, I have isolated myself and now all of my attention goes to my fiance for the most part. I was cooking the other night and wanted to look up a recipe on my phone, but I was afraid that I would have to start answering a bunch of questions again, so I just made something up and I didn't have the recipe for it. I'm not sure if I'm relaying the information correctly here, but this has become such a problem that I've become depressed since I feel very isolated from my friends and my social life. A lot of my friends are homebodies, or they live out of state, and messaging or Snapchat is how we communicate. Let me also say that early on in our relationship, I removed every single female friend I had on Snapchat because that was an issue then as well. I just thought it was easier for me to remove my female friends. Mind you, these were all completely platonic, and almost all of them were lifelong type of friends, than to deal with the questions or have my fiance think anyone is up to no good. Yes, I know that was the first red flag. Anyways, I am also just completely stressed out. I am afraid of my phone making any noise or lighting up for any reason, because then I'll have to explain why and my day is just ruined because I feel like my fiance doesn't trust me whatsoever. I mean, I'm not even sure if it's a trust thing. I can't fathom why she would have a trust issue with me, as I have not given her any reason not to. We are almost always together. We live together, and I just don't know. I can't imagine how I would even be able to cheat on her or whatever she thinks. I find myself not wanting to be around her because of this. I don't text her as much while I'm at work, and now that is a problem as well because I get messages like, oh, you don't like talking to me during the day now? And I mean, yeah, I'm upset about it. I don't really want to talk about how my day is going with her because it's not going well, you know? Also, because of this, my mind is in stay off your phone mode all the time. What should I do here? I've tried talking to her about it and telling her how I feel, but she just says I'm sorry and I don't know why I do that. And then we move on until it happens again the next day or two. I honestly feel like I am starting to love this person less because of it, which honestly depresses me. Am I being controlled or even abused in some way? What is going on and what should I do? Your fiance is incredibly insecure, jealous, and controlling. I'm just gonna say that outright. Maybe I'm being a little harsh here, but the way she's acting is absolutely inappropriate. And this is major red flag territory for me personally. Workplace camaraderie, especially if you work from home, is one of the few things that can keep you sane. Working from home can have some great benefits to it, but you sacrifice having any employees to be friends with. So the fact that this guy can't spend any time on his phone with his friends who are basically across the country is just not fair. He is now, as a result, isolated and feeling like he doesn't love his fiance anymore. Like throughout this entire post, I was waiting for the moment where it's like, oh, that's what you're doing wrong. But you're literally doing everything you can to appeal to your fiance, who, by the way, isn't making any steps to improve her behavior. It seems seems like this is her pointing out all these hypothetical situations out on you without her making any steps to say, you know what, my boyfriend and future husband is being loyal. Like, why would you be paranoid of your significant other doing something if they've never had any signs or anything related to ever being disloyal to you? In my opinion, that is very controlling and abusive behavior. The fact that this has led to you being depressed, paranoid, and feeling like you can't love her anymore is enough evidence that something has to change. And this is also something I think if you ignore will only get worse. So couples therapy probably wouldn't be a terrible idea, to be completely honest with you. Or at least calling her out every time she does that, because maybe she's just actively ignoring how abusive and how toxic this really is. Either way, a conversation definitely needs to be had, because if you have any hope of ever wanting to be with this person for the rest of your life, this behavior absolutely has to stop. My husband is secretly recording my female roommate behind my back, and after I told him and confronted him about this, he completely denied the issue and deleted the footage he got of her. And now I'm at a complete loss of what to do. I need to get this situation out because I'm feeling every sort of emotion and I can't tell anyone. It was a Tuesday, and me and my husband had just returned from a cafe for breakfast, and he went right downstairs to the bathroom. I decided to take our dogs for a walk, however, I couldn't find their leashes for the life of me. I look everywhere and knock on the bathroom door to ask my husband if the leashes happen to be in there. They have ended up in there before, but he wasn't responding, so I opened the door just a little bit to repeat the question. It sounded like he slammed something down, which I'm pretty sure was a laptop, and was all of a sudden very frantic. I closed the door, respected his privacy, and just tried to find other leashes. But I was curious, so I went out to the garage where there was a window into the basement bathroom. We are married, and I wanted to make sure everything was okay. I peek in quickly, and he was on a laptop that I had never seen before. I honestly thought nothing of it at first. I then caught a glimpse of what he was watching, and I just froze. I couldn't stop watching it too. I was in utter disbelief. At first, I thought it was a sketchy video, if you know what I mean, and still wasn't too surprised. But then I noticed the video and that it was taking place in a bathroom. But the bathroom happened to have the same layout and the same towel as my roommate's bathroom upstairs. As I watched this video, a female began taking off her clothes piece by piece, as well as getting into the shower. When I saw this, I started to spiral, and everything started to come together in my head. He was spying on our roommate. I literally began to shake and convulse. I ran as fast as I can to my roommate's bathroom upstairs, all on the main floor, and noticed in the outlet a charging port. As I looked closer, there it was, a little nanny cam right in the charging port staring back at me. I felt every emotion humanly possible and had no idea what to do. I started wondering where he got this thing, and then ran to our shared laptop to pull up all existing Amazon orders. I order regularly and scroll frantically, and guess what? There it is. Purchased 4 months ago. I pull the camera out of the socket and am looking everywhere for how to open it. Not finding any instructions, I rip it apart with a kitchen knife. I get it open only to find that the SD card slot was empty, but I decide to take action. I approach my husband, who is now lounging outside, and set the laptop down in front of him with the proof of purchase and ask him straight up, why did you get this? He gets up and is pretending to not see it properly. I know he's thinking of a way to explain as he's wiping off the computer screen. He then takes another 30 seconds and says, oh, it was a mistake. I meant to buy something else. He notices me looking terrified at him with my arms protectively wrapped around me and begins frantically coming up with the most stupid excuses. He says, I was getting a toothbrush light that helps with counting the seconds on each side. That being one of my personal favorite ones that he came up with. At this point, and even now, he doesn't know that I saw him watching the literal footage of our roommate. There he was, crying in the garage, acting like he had no idea it was a camera. I felt more sickened knowing that he was looking right at me and lying so well right to my terrified face. I then gave him basically the destroyed port, and off he goes to try and lie some more. He brings up a couple of laptops that he said were for gaming and is looking at the port saying, I don't even think this thing has an SD card. I then start to get angry at how stupid he thought I actually was, and then say, you know that there's an SD card, and I need you to get it right now. He looks at me and pretends he magically found some lying around the house. My adrenaline starts to go down and I get really focused. I put the SD card in our shared laptop. I click on the drive and behold, nothing. He deleted everything. There was even a file labeled captured that was magically empty. He was sitting with me still acting like he had no idea what was going on. I say to him, wow, good Good job managing to delete all of those videos. I shut the laptop, feeling disgusted and mortified. I give myself some space, and he acts like he did nothing wrong. It has now been 24 hours, and he made dinner. I literally threw it out and left to get food in fear that he would poison me. I still haven't brought up the fact that I literally watched him watch those videos because I'm both terrified and exhausted. I reached out to 5 couples counselors. I didn't sleep, and I'm honestly just completely mortified. What should I do? This is a nasty situation because this guy is literally spying on your female roommate, and that is not okay. But there is a silver lining because even though you've deleted something off of a memory card, it doesn't mean that those files can't be recovered. So if anything, you might be able to take the memory card as well as the laptop straight to the police. What he is doing is absolutely not okay, and he definitely needs to be accountable for it. I'm so sorry this is happening to you, but I completely understand that you would be mortified. I can't imagine my significant other doing this, betraying my trust as well as my roommate's trust, just to spy on somebody. It's absolutely terrifyingly disgusting, and I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. An entitled Karen steals my car keys, claiming that I couldn't possibly be the owner of my car, and as a result, she got arrested and had to do some jail time. Here's what happened. This incident was so stupid that I can't really help but share the story since my friends keep telling me to do it. What I find the most weird about this is that my car wasn't anything super special. It was just a yellow 2009 V6 Chevy Camaro with black stripes on it. When I bought it, it was super cheap because the passenger side door had been smashed in somehow and there was already 130,000 miles on the odometer. But somehow the title was still good. No idea why, nor do I really care. All I know was that the car looked like a good deal, so I bought it. A friend of mine who works in auto body fixed it up for me. He said that most of the damage was to the door itself, and I just needed a new door after he made a few tweaks to make sure everything was straight. Together, we managed to find a door at a salvage yard that was the same color. A little work and the car looked almost new, and it became my fun ride to commute to work or just to drive around in when I didn't feel like using my other car. I didn't do any modifications to it. I'm not one of those guys that's into speed or any crazy mods. I liked the car because it looked cool and the gas mileage wasn't so bad with a V6. In fact, I wanted a V6 Camaro because I heard that they're usually in better condition than the ones that have a V8 in it because people typically drive the V6 more for looks rather than power. I drove that Camaro for a year before running into a random entitled Karen at a supermarket last year in September. Those places tend to draw Karens in the regular, especially in the state I live in. I've seen many Karens before, but was lucky to hardly ever be noticed by them. I was shopping for some stuff to make dinner and was about to head home when I found the Karen with her young son all over my car after exiting the store. I'm guessing the boy was around 4 years old, and his mother was taking pictures of the kid sitting on my hood while the kid kept smiling and gleefully saying Bumblebee. Yes, I understand the reference, and I've heard it all before from the movie Transformers. I don't like people messing with my property, and I told the kid to get off. The entitled Karen took one look at me and told me to mind my own business. Now, I'm 29 years old, but I have a bit of a baby face, and my casual clothing made me look like a teenager, so I guess to her, I couldn't possibly be someone who would have anything to do with such a nice car. I told this entitled Karen to get off of my Camaro, and she bluntly told me that there's no way this was my car because I'm too young. So I pulled out my keys and I hit the alarm button on the remote. That made the alarm start blaring for a second, and her kid jumped off while screaming and crying because I had frightened him. But rather than paying attention to her crying kid, the entitled Karen came running at me full speed and managed to shove me hard enough that I fell over. The next part is a bit hazy. I got a bump on the head, and that crazy Karen slurred every word she was screaming at me. She stepped on my arm and pulled the keys from my hand before I really had a chance to react. Though she didn't really hurt me much, she was also not a big woman, only about 5'2" or something like that. I'm about 6 foot and I weigh over 170 pounds. When I got to my feet, she was comforting her crying child and telling him that I was a mean person. I told her to return my keys, but she got upset and said there's no way the Camaro was mine. I again stated it was and would only give her one more chance to return my keys. Well, she decided that she wasn't going to give them back. Instead, she handed them to her kid, who proceeded to start playing with the buttons on the remote and unlock the doors. I had had enough at this point, and I got my phone out and I called the police. When the Karen saw I was on my phone, she started screaming and charging at me again, though this time time, I easily dodged her, and she nearly fell on the asphalt and screamed that I had assaulted her. I never even touched her, and I said that out loud. The 911 operator was listening to everything that was going on, and I quickly told her where we were while this insane woman was still screaming at me. Pretty quickly, 2 police cars showed up. At this point, the Karen had locked herself in my car with her son and started the engine to run the AC. I explained everything to the police, and they knocked on the window of my Camaro to get the entitled Karen to open it and to give them her side of the story. She claimed the car to be hers and that I was just some stupid teenager that tried to carjack her. Then she started bragging to the police officer that she pushed me down and took me out, completely admitting that she had assaulted me. The officer asked me to clarify if she really did push me over, to which she bluntly said yes. I told the police officer to look in my glove compartment, and in there was my insurance card and a copy of my registration. And they could compare the name on my license just to have added proof. When this entitled Karen heard that, she got out of the car and finally admitted it wasn't hers, but then said there is no way it could be mine, and that she took the keys from me to try and find the real owner. That quickly earned her some shiny new bracelets, and she was put screaming into the back of the police car. The parking lot had cameras, so it was easy to prove the assault, though I only really got scratches, a bruise on my arm from where she stepped on it, and a small bump on my head. After the Karen was taken back to the station, they found she was high on some kind of substance, which explains why she went so nuts. I, of course, pressed charges, though my testimony wasn't really needed since the police had the closed-circuit television from the parking lot, as well as the audio from my phone call to prove that she was guilty. This turned out to be the 3rd offense for this entitled Karen, and she got 2 years in prison because of this. The whole incident made me rethink owning the Camaro, so in the end, I sold it. I basically got back everything I had into it anyways, so in the end, I broke even. I doubt I'll ever want to get another sports car ever again after getting assaulted by that crazy Karen. This crazy situation is unbelievable. I can't believe that a Karen tried to steal your car. This lady straight up assaulted the original poster, got in their car, and then tried to claim it was theirs. I mean, what kind of game plan is that? You're definitely not going to get that past the police, and it's not like the police are going to outright believe you and be like, oh, of course it's your car, go ahead. Like, they're going to check registrations, license, they're going to make sure everything's where it should be. But this lady thought, oh, if I just say it's mine, I can get away with it. Absolutely tragic overall, especially with the fact that he had to sell this car just to get rid of it, because apparently people kept bothering him about it. And I know exactly the car he's talking about, and it really is a cool, very popular car. But I completely understand where he's coming from when he says, nope, it's just not worth it. Because sometimes you want to drive around in your car and not be bothered, and people can be very, very weird. So it's awesome to see this Karen get exactly what she deserves. And it looks like after so many offenses, jail time's the only thing to make her stop. So hopefully now this person can just drive around in peace, and they won't have some crazy entitled Karen trying to push them down and steal their car. Today, I messed up by not paying attention while making a smoothie, and boy do I regret it. So I make a smoothie for lunch pretty much every day, with more or less the same ingredients in it. Some frozen fruit, some yogurt, juice, ice, and some protein powder. But today, I was in a rush, and I was trying to make it quick, because I was trying to get back to a multiplayer game I was in the middle of. I was at the very end of my protein powder jug, which comes with a little plastic scoop to act as a reasonable serving size for the protein. I put the powder in, and I thought I put the scoop back in the empty jar, but boy was I wrong. When I turned on the blender, I noticed that there was something stuck rattling around. The blender I use is nearly 10 years old and often has trouble blending these smoothies. And so I didn't think anything of it. It was probably just some ice. So I stopped it, shook it a bit, and tried again. After doing this one more time, again still trying to rush and not giving it a second thought, eventually everything blended together just fine. So I poured the smoothie, and immediately upon drinking some of it, I noticed some crunchy bits of something in the smoothie. This is where I think most people would think not to drink it, but I somehow thought that, again, it was probably fine, just something that didn't blend perfectly. The fact that I had some trouble blending reaffirmed this idea, and it tasted fine anyways. It was only after about 3/4 of the drink, the full thing being about 24 ounces, that I looked more closely at the smoothie and realized that whatever those bits were did not look like ice or anything I would normally put in it. And this is when it dawned on me as to what it could be. So I went over to check, and surely enough, the protein powder scoop was gone. I somehow not only managed to not realize I was blending it in the first place, but then not question the obvious plastic chunks in the smoothie until it was almost gone, basically eating the entire thing. I did some Googling and it seems I'll be fine, but I'm honestly still in disbelief that it didn't occur to me sooner and I feel insanely stupid. I'm just glad it wasn't something much more toxic that I dropped in there without thinking. Based on my lack of awareness, it could have literally been anything. Although I suppose that is probably the best way of getting rid of something. Just throw it in my smoothie, because clearly I won't notice. That is absolutely hilarious. You know you need to pay attention more in life when you don't taste the plastic in your smoothie. To his credit, it probably didn't taste like anything. It was probably just crunchy bits that he's like, yeah, you know, it's probably just ice. I think if anything, he definitely won the speedrun world record for consuming microplastic as fast as possible. All jokes aside, hopefully this guy's okay, and hopefully there's no negative repercussions as to when this comes out later, if you know what I mean. Because I could imagine that's going to be really gross, and hopefully there's no pain included. So best of luck to the original poster. I think you're going to need it. Today, I messed up by taking a joke a little too far and possibly damaging some relationships, and I'm not really sure what to do. First, let me start with some backstory. I started a new job last month and needed to move across the state for it. On my first day of orientation, I met this girl who we will call Sarah. That's not her real name. She was just starting as well. I immediately thought she was cute, and so I set out to get to know her better. I learned that she was new to the state, having also moved for the job, and as a result, she also didn't know anyone in the area. We started talking and really hit things off, and we quickly became friends. We started going for walks together and hanging out. I attempted to formally ask her out one day, and then found out that she was actually in a long-distance relationship with her boyfriend of almost 2 years. I was definitely disappointed, but I really enjoy hanging out and talking with her, so I asked if we could still be friends, to which she agreed, thankfully. Through one of our conversations, I learned that she wanted to get into Stardew Valley. It's a great game, by the way, and I encouraged her to get it. She found herself struggling with the game mechanics, so I went over last week to play co-op with her and help her understand how things work in the game. For those of you who are not familiar with Stardew Valley, you build relationships with the NPCs by giving them gifts, with some characters liking certain gifts more than others. She was starting to get mad, saying that the characters should just be happy that they're getting a gift at all. This led me to make a joke that by that same logic, she would be happy to receive a super random gift, like a potato or something like that, which I then tell her I would give her the next day. So, as a man of my word, the next day at work, I show up at her desk and gave her a potato, to which she found absolutely hilarious. I wish this is where the story ended, but if that was the case, I wouldn't be posting it now, would I? Things definitely spiraled out of control from here. The next day, her mom came to visit Sarah for the weekend, and thinking it would be funny, I decided to deliver a potato to her apartment so she would be forced to explain it to her mom. I had an empty Amazon bag that I put a potato in, along with a piece of lined paper with a crudely drawn heart on it, and dropped it off outside of her apartment while they were shopping. Upon their return, she found the box and I believe found it really funny how I stuck with the joke. Sarah and I have a similar sense of humor, so I assumed she would know and understand that the heart was part of the joke and not anything more. Her mom, however, didn't see it that way, and upon seeing the heart, accused Sarah of cheating on her boyfriend with me. I quickly apologized to Sarah for taking the joke a bit too far and causing her mom to think that she was cheating. Sarah told me that she cleared it up with her mom, so I assumed it was fine and back to normal. Well, last night and today, Sarah and I have been messaging each other, and last night I noticed that her normally longer messages had all but been reduced to 1 or 2 word responses. This seemed out of character for her, so I asked her if everything was okay. She told me that right now isn't really a good time, and how she was still angry about the whole thing this weekend. As far as I was aware, she had thought the potato delivery was funny, so honestly I had no idea that she was actually angry about it. This morning she told me that she has a lot going on, and she would appreciate it if I gave her some space and didn't message her for a while. This is super disappointing to me, because she had quickly become my closest friend in this area, where I don't know many people, and now I may have lost her as a friend because I took a joke too far. So here I am posting this, down one good friend whose life I inadvertently made significantly more complicated. It sounds like this all got back to her boyfriend pretty quickly, and now she's having some kind of relationship problem. I think you came at this with good intention, and you really were just trying to make a joke, but I think you definitely crossed the line in my opinion. Maybe I'm the outlier on this, leave a comment and let me know if I am. But something like that seems more like flirting than a joke in my opinion. She already knows that you were interested in her at some point, and you were at least good friends to a certain extent, spending time playing video games, and at least having some common connection with that. But leaving a potato on her doorstep with a heart on it definitely kind of crosses the line of being a little bit weird, and in my opinion is a little bit closer to flirting than it is to just being friends. Maybe I'm wrong, leave a comment down below and tell me what you think, but I think that really did kind of cross a line, so I can completely understand where this lady's coming from. But in that same thought, let's look at it rationally for a second. It's a potato, and it's clearly a joke based on previous experience. Like maybe you weren't trying to flirt, but the mom as well as the boyfriend most likely definitely see this as flirting. I don't know, there's a lot of ambiguity here, so leave a comment down below. What would you do in this situation? Do you think the girlfriend's right to get upset about this? Do you think her boyfriend is causing problems in the background that maybe this guy just doesn't know about? Leave a comment, we would love to read it. My boyfriend's ex-girlfriend is someone he was planning on proposing to, and I can't help but think that now I'm just a backup option, and I don't know what to do. I've been dating my boyfriend for around a year and a half. He's my first love, my first time, and it's really the first serious relationship who's treated me like how I deserve to be treated. It doesn't mean that things are perfect, but on the whole, we are in love and put in the work to make sure our relationship is as healthy and loving as it can be. We initially met in another city. I moved for a job, and now he's moving to be with me about 2 hours away next month. He's had 2 serious relationships before me. The first girl was his first love. They dated almost 4 to 5 years ago. She helped him through the death of his family member and then cheated about a year in, and so they ended up breaking up. They got back together almost a year later for another 6 months. They booked a trip to Europe together and ring shopped together so that he could propose at the end of the trip. That was all before she let him know she wanted to explore things with women and enter an open relationship. So as a result, he broke it off and she took her new girlfriend to Europe. His second year-long relationship was ended by the girl as she found someone on a dating app and they got engaged 2 months later. I would also like to note that I absolutely despise cheating and would never dream of doing what they did to him. I love this man and want to spend my life with him. However, I'm so worried he's hung up on his first ex that I struggle to let myself be happy in our relationship. I constantly compare myself to her and their timeline. She seemed more fun and carefree when compared to my type A tendencies. He says he wants to marry me, but will wait until he's emotionally and financially mature enough. I can't help but think that he didn't care about that when it came to her, and that he supposedly just knew that she was the one when approaching marriage with his previous girlfriend. I don't really sense that he's going to become so much more ready in the next couple of years. I want to wait since I'm still young, but I worry that on his end, I'm just around at the right time and that I'll never measure up to her and the carefree time that he had with her. He even mentioned recently that, you know what, we'd probably get along, as if it was supposed to be a compliment, which only reinforced my worry that I'm just a second choice. Why should she come up in a conversation at all? I love him and I can't tell if my anxiety is justified. Do I have the right to be worried? If not, how do I move past this retroactive jealousy? What should I do? It really sounds like you're just being overly anxious about this situation. I think worrying about what happened in a previous relationship is honestly completely pointless. Like, that's a stage of his life that is completely gone and done with. He loves you. He wants to marry you. To say that you're just some kind of secondary option is just not true. Currently, you're the only option. It's so unfair to compare yourself to somebody's exes. You are not like them, and that's a good thing. Otherwise, he wouldn't be with you. He clearly sees something in you that's worth spending his entire life with, no matter what. So honestly, I really do think you're just overthinking this problem, and you're making things more complicated than it needs to be. So if anything, I think just have an honest conversation with him and express your concerns. I think you'll quickly realize that none of your concerns have any grounding to them, and that in all actuality, he really does love only you and only wants to marry you. And that honestly might be the thing to get you past this situation. I just found out that I have 2 secret sisters, and it has completely messed up my relationship with my dad, and I don't know what to do. So last year, I learned that 10 years before I was born, my parents had twins and put them up for adoption. 2021 was the first year the records were unsealed, and my parents and the twins were able to contact each other for the first time. Basically, the twins reached out one night, and my parents told me the next day. But up till that point, I had no idea they existed. In terms of the twins, all is going okay. They're both really nice people, and one of them is building a relationship with my family and wants to be a part of our lives. The other one has some issues with the adoption and isn't ready to take that step. I am genuinely happy for the sister interested in getting closer to us, and I think she had wanted to find them forever, and I'm glad it has worked out. But still, there is this problem I have with my dad. Growing up, he was insanely hard on me, extremely unflexible, and extremely controlling. He is also very emotionally unavailable, with very little empathy for others. He was emotionally distant and a very insecure parent. Now, I was not a perfect teenager. I could be stubborn, and I had an attitude, and my grades were average, so I wasn't the best student either. But I never got into any major trouble, and I went on to grad school and run a successful business now. So finding out that he was literally dropping out of college and having twins at 20 while being so insanely strict with me for being an annoying but basically normal teenager has really messed me up. On top of that, he idolizes the one sister that he's building a relationship with. Essentially, he talks as if she could walk on water, when in reality, he has met her only one time, and that is as an adult. I'm sure she had her annoying phase as a teenager as well. I mean, she's human, right? Meanwhile, he continually undermines and puts down my life decisions. Anytime I take steps to improve my life, he puts them down, even though I know they were the right choice and it paid off. And he straight up acts like the other twin. You know, the one who wants nothing to do with them right now. I know this fantasy person he's idolizing doesn't exist, but it does hurt that he acts like he finally has a good daughter while finding ways to take out his anger on me and put me down. He doesn't have the self-awareness to realize how he's acting, or how it would undermine my new relationship with my sister. Basically, he is insufferable right now, and I hate every second I spend with him, so I've tried to minimize my time. At the same time, he is 70, and the clock is ticking, so I don't want to feel like this when he eventually passes away. I want to have a productive conversation about how hurtful he is being, all so we can try and move past this. Has anyone dealt with this type of resentment and have advice for how to start the discussion? I am getting a therapist, by the way, and I start on Tuesday, but in the meantime, I have no idea what to do. What should I do? I think you've really expressed your opinion and where you're coming from quite concisely, and you've done a really good job of saying, hey, this is what I like and don't like. And the fact that he is gravitating towards this new sister who you never knew about, while also putting you down at every chance he gets, is completely toxic. I think if anything, you should just be ready to go in there and speak your truth no matter what he says, even if he ends up still rejecting you. And if he still ends up rejecting you and putting you down and treating you like garbage, then let that be your sign to move on and get away from him, because nobody should have to deal with that, no matter what age they're at. So I'm really sorry you're going through this, and hopefully it all works out. An entitled Karen intentionally tries to hit me with her car, all because I'm riding my bike on the street. It got so bad that these entitled Karens slowed down and followed us just to yell at us. Here's what happened. To start off with some context, my dad and I love riding our bikes. We live in a city where bike riders are very common, and people around here love to see bike riders on the street having a good day. Or at least that's what I thought. So one day, my dad and I rode our bikes around what we would call the River Loop, which goes around the city, which is about 25 miles. And towards the end of the loop, we ended up in a little neighborhood. As I looked over to my dad on my left, I saw the shadow of a car directly behind us. They were so close that if I slowed down even a little bit, I would have been run over. And as you can probably guess, the people driving the car were the entitled Karens of this story. When my dad and I pulled over just a little bit so these Karens could pass, one of the entitled Karens yelled out the window,
"Get off the road."
And instead of speeding off, they slowed down in front of us and began to yell at us again. They would say stuff like,
"I've been on this road for 50 years and I've never liked your kind."
They also said to us,
"You guys belong over there."
This entitled Karen then pointed across the road to a golf course, as if that makes any sense. And it escalated to the point that they started using swear words several times at us, to which my dad interjected and called them out on it. Trust me, I was about to pull out my phone to record the entire incident, but that's when the entitled Karens drove off and actually tried to swing their car to run us over. Thankfully, I noticed it just in time, and we were able to avoid some type of terrible accident. At the end, we were coming up on a busy road, and the Karens drove off in a rush. I was personally very shaken up, but my dad was just sad, and he said that this has happened before to him many times. Honestly, this isn't my first time either, as at one point, a Karen flipped us off on the road and drove off. In the end, the Karens kind of won, but I know that those Karens are going to be put in their place if they do that to us again. But on the road, we were the nice bikers. So hopefully one day, karma will come back knocking for these Karens. What a crazy story. The fact that these people slowed down just to mess with you, all over you riding your bikes, most likely in the biking lane off to the side, is really ridiculous and also incredibly dangerous. To be following a bike that closely and to make such a big fuss out of something that is quite normal, especially for this city, is just really strange to me. But the original poster has it right. People like this absolutely get what's coming to them. And one day, karma really will come back to bite them in the butt, because entitled Karens like this should not get away with this kind of behavior, because no one wants to put up with that. This story also came from the Am I the Jerk podcast subreddit. Check the links in the description if you'd like to submit your own story. I totaled my boyfriend's car, and now I'm worried he's gonna break up with me over it, and I really don't know what to do. My boyfriend and I were going on holiday, and my car was at the workshop getting serviced, so we decided to use his car. His car was a gift from his parents, but he personally doesn't have a license yet, as he's in the process of retaking his driver's test since it got suspended. And the car just sits in the garage, so he takes an Uber everywhere and hasn't been driving for the past couple of years. So as I'm the only one with a license, I go ahead and I drive. As we were nearing our destination, I was turning out of a junction. I checked both sides and didn't see any cars coming when a car was speeding towards us. My boyfriend yelled at me and I panicked. The next thing I knew, we were getting T-boned on the driver's side. My boyfriend had to drag me out of the car. It was a terrible accident, but luckily no one was hurt. We thought insurance would cover it this whole time, so we moved on from the situation, and he told me he forgave me and that he still loves me. That is until we got a call today saying the car was totaled. I've never been the best driver, and my boyfriend knows this, and that's why he's so anxious whenever I drive. I feel so bad and guilty right now, and I offered to get him a new car, but I'm still a student and barely make any money right now. It's another financial burden on me, but I know it's my responsibility to take care of. What I am most worried about is how it's going to affect our relationship. He says we should just move on from it, and when I asked him if he's going to break up with me, he said no. I can tell he's still really stressed about the situation and was not super responsive to my messages, even though I admit I might just be overthinking this. I'm still so worried. I can't stand losing the love of my life. I know he loves me a lot too, but I feel like I don't deserve this. I would love to get some insight on what he might be feeling, or at least what else I can do to make it up to him. What should I do? I really don't think you should give up hope on this situation. Accidents happen, specifically in cars. That's why you have insurance for cars. And it sounds like the situation at hand is not your fault at all. Yeah, you got T-boned, but it's not because you did anything wrong. It seems like the other car that hit you is at fault. So I would at least hold on to that. And just because your car got totaled doesn't mean that insurance wouldn't cover it. I would still go through your insurance and figure it out, because if you have the right coverage, they might cover the cost of a new car. I think it's a little cynical as well, but you also have to remember he wasn't driving this car at all either. So yeah, he doesn't have a car, but he also doesn't have a license. And it sounds like it's been like this for like what, a few years now? He will honestly be fine without having a car for a few more months, if anything. And I think you should believe your boyfriend when he says, no, I'm not going to break up with you. I have personally been in car accidents before, and the process of filing this through your insurance can be a headache. So if anything, I think that is probably what's stressing him out, and I really don't think it has anything to do with you. So overall, I wouldn't stress out about this, but honestly, just stay close to your boyfriend and support him in this process of getting insurance filed, because I honestly think you two are fine and things will work out once insurance gets things going. But even if it doesn't, I still think he's not going to break up with you. So honestly, I don't think you have anything to worry about. My girlfriend cheated on me with her ex just so she could find some closure with her previous relationship, and I'm honestly completely shocked. My girlfriend and I have been dating for a year. I'm her second girlfriend, and before me she dated this other girl who was her first and shattered her heart. Even though they dated just for half a year and they didn't do anything, my girlfriend got very attached to her and still cares about her. That girl seriously messed her up, and I was there to pick her up and make her happy again, or so she says. So after that girl dumped her, we started dating, and my girlfriend and her ex cut off communication with each other. My girlfriend wanted to reach out, but her ex wasn't responsive. Last weekend, her ex texted her and asked to meet up. My girlfriend agreed, but I didn't like the idea, but she said that it would be important to her, as she needed closure and that it would help her finally move on. So they met up. My girlfriend returned home and said that everything was fine and it was over, but she seemed a bit weird. A couple of days later, she told me that she wanted to be honest confessed and admitted to me that they had kissed. And worst of all, my girlfriend initiated it. I got furious because she had discussed many times that kissing is cheating. My girlfriend is saying that she and her ex never got to kiss when they were dating, and she just wanted to do it. Ever since they broke up, it's been bugging her all that time that they never kissed. And for some reason, it was important to her. So she couldn't miss that chance after they talked and requested from her ex if they could kiss this one last time. My girlfriend has been crying and asking for forgiveness ever since, saying that it's just a one-time thing and that she's the only person that she would ever kiss just once, and then she would be done with it. Because according to her, without the kiss, she doesn't feel like the relationship ever was real. And honestly, I don't get it. Firstly, I hate her ex because I saw what she did to my girlfriend. Secondly, I feel like my girlfriend cheated on me, and I can't get rid of that feeling. This is all really messy, and I really need some advice. What should I do? I think you said it best. Your girlfriend cheated on you. She went to her ex-girlfriend and said, hey, let's kiss one last time, and completely ignored the fact that, yeah, I'm already in a relationship. Like, clearly this is not a casual thing to your girlfriend, and I don't think it should be casual to you either. This also obviously shows me that she would get back with her ex in a heartbeat. If she's this easily disloyal, then who's to say that she wouldn't do this again, if not worse? So personally, if I was in your shoes and my girlfriend did this to me, I absolutely would not feel comfortable being with him anymore, because at the end of the day, she cheated. And no excuse of finding closure is going to be good enough in my book personally for me to forgive them for this. That is also a terrible reason to cheat on somebody. I just want to find closure. No, you want to ruin this relationship. So best of luck in whatever you decide to do, but from my perspective, I think you can do a lot better than this lady. And you'll be able to find someone who won't cheat on you just to find closure, whatever that means. My current girlfriend is messaging my ex-girlfriend, and they're making fun of me in text messages. And I don't know how to feel or what to even do right now. The other night, while my girlfriend and I were laying in bed, I go to set the alarms on her phone for her to be able to wake up for work on time, as I do every other night. And as I'm doing so, I see my ex-girlfriend texting my girlfriend, and me being the curious person that I am, I open the text message. Now, as a note, I've never been one to peep through someone's phone, but that's my ex-girlfriend that she's messaging. I had to check this out. I read the message that was sent, and I see that there are quite a few other messages between them. And to my surprise, I see several very demeaning and condescending text messages between the both of them about me. They make fun of my hairline, they make fun of my chest, which is not very well developed. They even make fun of my family and how they're a total train wreck. When I saw this, I was absolutely shocked beyond belief. I could not believe that my girlfriend was sending messages to my ex-girlfriend, basically making fun of me behind my back. My current girlfriend doesn't know that I saw these text messages, but I don't know what to do. She always comforts me when I'm feeling insecure, but to find this out just hurts. I want to distance myself from her, but I've been with her for well over a couple of years now, and I still love her. I don't know if I should confront her about this or if I should just leave it alone. What should I do? I can't imagine being in that situation. You're dating your current girlfriend, you've been with her for years, you actively love and appreciate her, and you do everything you can to maintain a relationship, only to then find out all of the sudden that she has been messaging your ex-girlfriend and mocking everything about you, from your chest to your hairline to your family, all of which is happening behind your back. And what you've never known is that everything you ever tell her is probably just more ammunition for her to use against you with your ex-girlfriend. How horrific can you possibly get? So to answer your question about this, yes, you should confront her about this. And you should absolutely, in my opinion, dump her. Typically with this story, there's some type of ambiguity where you might be able to make this work, but she is actively mocking you behind your back. And that, in my opinion, is a complete deal breaker. That is such a betrayal of trust that, in my opinion, is absolutely unforgivable. I would never want someone like that involved in my life. Imagine having a friend group like that, where they only want you around just so they can mock you when you're not around. That would be horrific, and not something anybody would want to be involved with. I personally would have dumped her right away. I would have gotten my stuff and gotten out of there if I was living with her. You do not need that in your life. I don't care how much you love her or how much of a history you have. This is a deal breaker. Just imagine if you had some kind of future with her where you got married and had kids. You can know for a fact at the first sign of getting in some kind of argument, she's going to mock you to your future children. Like, this is just not okay. You can find better than this. You can do a lot better than this. And the last person you need in your life is someone who's gonna mock you behind your back. Today, I messed up by blasting anime at my professor. And yeah, it sounds as weird as you think. This happened a few years ago. I had an important meeting planned with one of my professors. I didn't have any classes from this friendly older man. However, he was the guy in my department who was well known for being able to solve everyone's problems. I was sure that without his help, my most important project of the year would fail. Before going to university, I had a few hours to spare ahead of the meeting. I decided to watch some Dragon Ball on my laptop. My laptop's volume was booming at 100%. I watched a few episodes and saw the protagonist Goku fighting a mighty new opponent. Overall, I had a great time. For those of you who don't know, Dragon Ball is an anime franchise about massive, spiky-haired people with huge muscles that are typically named after vegetables, underwear, or musical instruments. Of course, those muscles are used for fighting, and when they fight, the characters in Dragon Ball aren't quiet. They shout a lot. I kept watching anime until I had to go to the meeting. As soon as I sat down in the professor's office, I took my laptop out of my backpack to show the professor some files related to my project. The screen turned on, and I heard a sound that made my heart drop. Goku, the main character, was screaming at the top of his lungs, as loud as my speakers could go. Unfortunately, without the accompanying visuals, his prolonged screaming sounded like anything but fighting. Instead, it sounded quite suggestive, if you know what I mean. Obviously, I wanted it to stop, but alas, an obstacle had arisen. My laptop could start making noise without me entering my password, but the sound could only be stopped by me after entering my password. That day, I learned that having a long, complicated, unhackable password can have some serious downsides. To my embarrassment, it took a bunch of tries for me to get my password correct, and with every passing second, the noise of a large man screaming would not go away. I honestly felt the silent judgment of my professor the entire time. As Goku's screaming was reaching its conclusion, I managed to stop the video from playing. I felt like I was going to explode from shame. Thankfully, my professor didn't say a single word, as I just quickly moved on and navigated to the emails I needed to show him. It was an absolute nightmare. Yeah, that definitely makes sense when you think about the whole Dragon Ball franchise. Without the visuals going along with the audio, it probably sounds incredibly weird, in more than one way, if you know what I mean. I also want to know who Goku was fighting, because now I want to look up that scene and see exactly how awkward it must have been. The silver lining here is the fact that you were able to get the noise to stop. Just imagine if your computer froze up and it played the entire episode and fight scene where Goku just kept screaming. That probably would have been a nightmare, and if I were you, I probably would have switched schools after that. Today, I messed up by catching my boss cheating on his wife. My boss has been a co-owner of our franchise for about 5 years. His wife is our office manager. They have 2 kids, one being barely 1 year old. It's just 3 people in the office, me and 2 other female coworkers. Thursday afternoon, while my coworker Anna, that's not her real name, was on lunch, I went to ask my boss about something, and instead I found him making out with Rebecca, another one of my coworkers, in his office. Rebecca is not her real name. He had his hands wrapped around her waist, and her arms were around his neck. They immediately pulled back and tried to play it off. The next day, my husband and I had to stay home because he was exposed to someone with COVID, and both of us were feeling ill. I messaged the office manager and told her that we needed to talk in person, but she said she was out of town until next week and that I should just call her. So I went ahead and did that. I told the office manager about what happened, and she was in shock. After that, my boss called my phone a few hours later while I was in the shower, and my husband answered. My boss asked that I call him back, but I couldn't bring myself to do it because of how bad my nerves and anxiety were after everything that happened. Today, I went to check my work email to see what was on the agenda for Monday, and I was locked out. I tried to log into our scheduling website, and I couldn't get in there either. I messaged my boss, and he said I was no longer employed because of my apparent excessive absences, even though termination would be the 3rd offense. And this was the first time I've ever been told this. I work in an at-will right-to-work state, so now I can't even do anything about it. Minutes after this happened, I did contact a lawyer, and unfortunately, they said that there's nothing I can do. So now, because my boss cheated and I caught him cheating, I ended up losing my job while he still gets to get away with it. Hopefully, his wife approaches and confronts him about this, but honestly, my hope hopes are not very high. What a terrible situation to be in. You catch your boss in the act of cheating on his wife, only to then get fired because he said something to his wife. And honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would have done the exact same thing. What an absolute dirtbag. I think if anything, you can definitely know that what goes around comes around. And I can guarantee you that karma will absolutely come his way eventually, even if you don't get the chance to witness it. The universe has a very unique way of dealing with scumbags like this, and it's just a shame that you got caught in the crossfire. But this might be the best blessing you could have possibly asked for yourself, because now you don't ever have to work in that kind of environment again. And hopefully you're able to find a better job that won't try and get rid of you just because you catch your boss cheating on his wife. Today I messed up by letting someone else borrow my Beyblade, only for them to then trade it off to someone else. Back when I was in middle school, Beyblades were super popular. I remember being so excited to get my first one, and it honestly was just a dream come true. The anime was so cool too. They would say, "Let it rip," and their Beyblades would jet across the air and do battle with each other. I had been looking at the other Beyblades that people at my school would show off, so I was able to pick one out that was relatively unique. I think the one that my mom took me to the store to buy must have actually come out recently, because I didn't see anyone at school with it. I brought it to school one day and people were like, "Wow, that one is awesome." I was so proud of myself for picking that one out. Back in the day, we used to bring Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon cards, and Beyblades, and whatever else the latest trend was from Japan. On that day, I had a friend who asked me if he could hold my Beyblade. I told him no, and at the time I was just being very protective of my stuff, like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, and I just didn't want anyone else to hold it. He asked me at the beginning of the school day, and he would continue to ask me as the day progressed. He was asking me if he could just hold it for just a few seconds. He kept asking me over and over and over again. Eventually, I broke and I let him hold it. As soon as I did, he walked off with it somewhere. For whatever reason, I didn't follow him. I guess I just assumed he would bring it back. Well, the next thing I knew is this friend, we will call him John, that's not his real name, all of a sudden had a new Beyblade in his hands. I asked him what happened to mine, and he nonchalantly told me that he traded it to somebody else. I got so upset that I could feel tears welling up in my eyes. I went to the guy that John traded this to and told him about what happened, but he refused to give me my Beyblade. I felt like such a fool for letting John hold my Beyblade even to begin with, and I wish I just said no. That's terrible. John is a terrible person. He stole your property and gave it to somebody else, and that is absolutely not fair to you. It sucks that you had to go through that, but it definitely teaches you a very valuable lesson about your belongings. And worst off, I'm sure that Beyblade held a lot of sentimental value to you. It was unique to everybody in the school, and nobody else had it, so it felt like your own thing. And then your friend betrays you only to pawn it off so he can get something that he wanted. That's such a toxic thing to do. But unfortunately, for a middle schooler, I'm not surprised, unfortunately. And I remember back when I was in middle school, Beyblades were very popular, and for something like that to happen would be absolutely horrendous. So I'm really sorry this happened to you, but hopefully you learned some valuable lessons about keeping an eye on your property and simply telling somebody no when you don't want to do something. My entitled mother, who is a complete narcissist, refuses to take no for an answer, but after having just about enough, I put my foot down and set some very clear boundaries. Now she's enraged and refuses to talk to me, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. Here's what happened. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to never miss a video. I am a 26-year-old female, and my mother is 56 years old. And honestly, my mother has been a problematic presence in my life for basically my whole life. But unfortunately, it's one of those relationships that's easier to put up with than to not put up with it. Because unfortunately, the harassment I receive from going no contact with her is much, much worse. We have pretty regular contact and phone calls overall. And during my parents' divorce, my mother was diagnosed with cluster B personality disorder and fell heavily on the narcissistic spectrum. She often jokes about how she asks people multiple times to do something, even if they say no, because she hopes it will wear them down. And unfortunately, this tactic works often. My mom runs a small business, and occasionally I've helped her out with it, and she has paid me. Last time I helped her out, I found myself overwhelmed because I've been dealing with increased anxiety lately. She asked me a while ago to help her out again, and I said no, explaining that even though the work wasn't hard, I couldn't manage the mental stress of another responsibility. As a side note, I already have a full-time job. She tried to tell me that it wasn't stressful and again pushed the issue. I told her no again and didn't try to re-explain it because I'm specifically working working on not over-explaining myself. A few weeks later, she asked me again to help her out, and again, I said no, and to please not ask me again. But still, she demanded to know why, and I explained to her that I had already told her why, and I briefly reminded her my reasons as to why I didn't want to do it. She tried again to insist, and I very firmly told her to stop. She pouted a bit, but eventually she got over it. About a month ago, she called me to ask again to help her with her business, saying that she would rather pay me than hire somebody new. And again, I told her no. And unfortunately, the same thing started happening again. She started to demand to know why, and we just had the same conversation. She then starts pleading dramatically, and I say no about 10 times, while progressively raising my voice because she won't stop pleading. She then says fine and again demands to know why. And at this point, I'm at my wit's end. I told her that I have already explained to her why multiple times, and that I don't want to talk about this anymore. I then asked her to please not ask me again. She keeps insisting, so I say to her that if you don't stop, I'm going to hang up the phone. And guess what? She didn't stop. So I just say, okay, goodbye, and I hang up the phone. Ever since I put my foot down, she has been ignoring me and only responding to text messages when she needs to. And anytime she tries to communicate with me, she will only try and start fights and be very rude. So honestly, I'm just so done with her attitude, and I wish she would just leave me alone. How obnoxious is this lady? I don't care who you are, asking someone 100 times to do something for you and not accepting someone saying no is just very toxic. And it's abusive behavior. And to treat someone like that who's your family is just really gross. When someone says no, you need to respect that decision. And sure, maybe there's some wiggle room there initially for some kind of negotiation tactic, but to ask over and over again consistently for over a month is no longer a negotiation tactic, but instead is harassment. And that is not okay. So good for this original poster for putting their foot down and putting up a boundary between her and her mother, because absolutely nobody should have to deal with this. I looked through my boyfriend's phone and found out he cheated on me, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. Here's the situation. I just moved in a couple of months ago with my boyfriend of about 2 years. Previously, we had been long distance and only saw each other on the weekends, usually Friday night to Sunday morning. Over the last few weeks, I've had this weird feeling that I just can't shake. There have been a few times lately where he's just left the house, gone to see a friend, and been gone pretty long, and been a bit distant towards me afterwards. And also just in general. Anyway, cut to this weekend. We bought some furniture this past Saturday, and he was grouchy with me all day as we did it, even though I'd postponed at his request multiple times, and this was the day that he chose to go. He kept complaining about everything, grumbling at me every time I asked his opinion on something. We got home that evening, and he immediately asked if it would be okay to go to his friend's house to hang out for a bit. I said, sure, no worries. And he said he would be back in about an hour or two. I said okay, because even though I've had this weird feeling the last few weeks that something is off, although I couldn't really say what or why it was happening, I also didn't want and really don't want to be that type of partner who controls or limits their partner's solo time with friends. He's also done this when he asked to go out somewhere several times since we've lived together now, like 2 to 3 times a week, and is usually home when he says he will be. Anyway, he got home about an hour and a half later, and immediately after saying hi to me, went to go take a shower. And honestly, that didn't immediately ping on my radar. We had just moved some heavy boxes earlier, and we were pretty sweaty after all. I thought it was a little weird he wanted to shower at night, because he usually never does, but whatever. Given the day that we had, it seemed normal. But what did bother me was right after showering, he went outside for a cigarette without asking if I wanted to join him. Eventually, he was outside for 30 minutes or so all by himself. At roughly 10 o'clock, he came back in for about 15 minutes and was looking really agitated. Then he said he was going out for another cigarette after his phone buzzed. I told him that was fine. I then waited 5 minutes, then went out to join him this time, and he was nowhere to be found. I looked outside and his car was gone. I texted him and got no reply. He came back again about 40 minutes later and claimed that he had gone to the store and then got some distracting text messages from some of his friends. He apologized to me for leaving abruptly and not replying to my text message, and I told him I was bothered, but that was okay. Then I went to bed and he joined me and started acting sweet again. Internally, my BS detector had been set off thoroughly. So yesterday morning, I woke up early and the gut feeling I had been having the previous weeks was worse. I know I'm going to get ripped to shreds here for looking through his phone while he was asleep, but the feeling was just overwhelming overwhelming me. Something was off. So I opened up his phone with the passcode he's given me before, and I looked through his phone thoroughly. I found text messages between him and his friends talking about all kinds of things. But what was most alarming was that he was absolutely discussing doing an illegal substance that is very harmful for your body. And this is something he's never talked to me about ever. This message alone was a huge shock to my system, especially since this involved his friends, as well as talking about how they got these illegal substances. I also found text messages from 3 women last summer who he hooked up with while I was out of town, one of whom he arranged to meet up with on a night that I had been trying to see him extra outside of our weekend schedule. I even pulled our messages up side by side, my text to him and the ones to this girl. I saw that he was texting me this story about having to work late so I shouldn't come out, while he was also arranging to meet at this girl's house. And she even sent him a text message the following morning thanking him for a great time. At the same time she was texting him that morning, he was sending me text messages about this crazy time at work that he had and about how much he wishes he could have spent time with me instead. It was honestly disgusting to see. I also found that in March of this year, right around when we started apartment hunting, he had downloaded Tinder. The app wasn't on his phone when I checked, but it looks like he did download it in March at some point, according to the Tinder confirmation code. Then something really strange happened. It was about 6:30 in the morning and I was still looking through his phone and a call came in. The phone was set to vibrate, so I just let it be and did not answer, but immediately was like, who on earth is calling my boyfriend at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday? From what I could tell, it wasn't his mom or his family at all. The person was under his phone by the nickname of Scam Likely, so I have no idea who it was. But when I went back to his text messages on his phone, I saw he had an unread message from this person, and it was sent late the previous night while we were definitely in bed together, and the message just read, "I love you." I didn't pull up the text thread with this person because I didn't want him or them to see that I had read it, but I saw it. I put the phone down, went for a drive, came back, and decided to pretend with him nothing was wrong, because I don't know yet what to say or to do. But I decided I would check his phone later when he was asleep to read this person's message and look at the thread. I pulled up the phone this morning, again while he was asleep, and it was deleted. The whole message thread with that person was gone, as was their record of the 6:30 a.m. call yesterday. But their contact info was still on his phone, and all the earlier messages about all these illegal substances, as well as these other women last year, were still there. Now I don't know what to do. He's at work and so am I, but this is all I can think about. I can't get it out of my head. The "I love you" message and call yesterday especially are on my mind. I absolutely hate this. I'm so embarrassed and angry at myself for snooping. I always swore I would never do it because I think it's wrong, but now here I am. And I think about us. I just relocated to a new city for him where I barely know anyone, and I thought I was doing it for our future. We've even talked about marriage, having kids, and he usually initiated all those conversations on his own. He also had told his family he plans to marry me, and at his nephew's recent birthday party, he listed me as auntie. I just can't believe I'm back in this place again. I genuinely thought I knew this person and trusted him, and now I feel stupid and let down and betrayed and completely humiliated. What should I do? What a tragic situation to be in, and what a terrible way to find out. It's bad enough that you went through his phone, so automatically no matter what you say to him, he's gonna try and have that over you, and he's gonna say something to the effect of, "You went through my phone, you invaded my privacy, this isn't fair, blah blah blah." But at least you can know for a fact that this man is playing you. He's going behind your back, he's doing illegal substances which clearly you did not know about, and he is blatantly cheating on you. He's coordinating with some other woman to get with her, and that is honestly so unfair, especially when you mention that you've talked about marriage and having kids in the future. I mean, this is just heartbreaking. How on earth can you move forward and have any semblance of a relationship after finding out so blatantly that your boyfriend is cheating on you? And when you think back on it, all these red flags really do add up to him being super suspicious and him cheating on you. The original poster goes on to say later that they are not reliant on their boyfriend at all financially. They make almost twice as much as he does. So that's at least comforting considering the situation, because it would be even worse if they had no kind of financial backing and they were relying solely on this man who is betraying their trust. So whether you decide to stick with this relationship relationship or move on and get out of it. I hope it all works out and you find some kind of happiness along the way, because I can only imagine how unhappy this has made you. I just got back in touch with my family, who I ran away from as a teenager, and my boyfriend doesn't like them and they don't like him either. How do I fix this situation? I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years now, and I've known him for 5. We've been together through a lot, and I love him very much. I was estranged from my family until about 6 months ago. My family consists of my mother, 2 younger brothers, and 3 younger sisters. A short version of that story is that when I was 16, I ran away from home, primarily due to how my mother's husband treated me. My mother reached out about 2 years ago to say that she had left him and would love to hear from me. I contacted her about 6 months ago after discussing it with my therapist and my boyfriend, and agreeing I should at least hear her out. It started as a phone call, then some coffee, and then family dinners accompanied by my boyfriend. Eventually, I introduced my kids, assuming there was no major issues, such as the one we're currently having. Since reconnecting, my boyfriend has been uneasy about things. He feels that they are taking advantage of me and that I deserve better. He yelled at my mother at one point when she made a mean comment about me. Everything he's done has been to defend me, but has resulted in my family saying they don't like him. They think he's controlling and domineering, and don't forgive him for yelling at our mother, despite acknowledging that what she said was mean. They have said they want to see me without him, and that if I want to leave him, they will help me out. I would personally love if everyone just took a step back and took a deep breath. I love my boyfriend, and I appreciate him defending me, but he can have a bit of a hair trigger at times. Meanwhile, my family are writing him off over a couple of things that were done in my defense, and they have contributed to this too. I feel that I am caught in the middle, and this whole situation is just a lot to deal with. I would like for them to just give each other another chance, but neither side is willing to. How can I fix the issue between my boyfriend and the family so I'm not caught in the middle? What should I do? It seems like your boyfriend is very passionate about defending you in the face of these people who he has probably heard from you were terrible to you in your upbringing, and they were so bad that you ran away from home at the age of 16. I can completely understand where he's coming from, where he feels the need to step in and to try and defend you. But in that same thought, he needs to know where the boundaries are. It probably would have been wise to go into that first by saying, hey, let me do the talking, especially since you haven't seen them in literally over a decade. But with that same thought in mind, your family, who you have not had any contact with for almost a decade now, have, after only 6 months, judged your boyfriend as absolutely incompetent. And they don't like him because he spoke up for you. And only 6 months into you reconnecting with them, they've said mean things about you, and they've tried to get you to leave your partner. And I just don't think that's fair for you or anybody else involved. You might as well be a different person completely. Like your family has no connection with you aside from the fact that you were there as a teenager, and things were so bad that you had to leave. I personally don't think they know at all what's best for you. I think honestly, you just need to set some boundaries and go from there. Maybe you're going into this a little too quickly and things have moved faster than you're ready for, even if you are willing to meet them and to get to know them. I personally side with your boyfriend on this situation because it sounds like he wants to protect you from the people who treated you like garbage in your upbringing, and it doesn't totally sound like they've changed all that much. It seems like subtle things are starting to peek through that they still have held on to when it comes to toxic behavior. So hopefully you're able to come at this with a different angle, and hopefully you're able to find some kind of mutual solution for this situation, because I think it's great that you're reconnecting with your family after so long, but at the same time, you definitely got to remember where you came from and why you left them in the first place, because they failed you as a teenager, and there's no reason to let them fail you now as an adult. My boyfriend thinks I'm being controlling for being worried about his drinking habits, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. My boyfriend and I have been generally in a great relationship. He has said I understand him more than anyone, and that he loves me deeply. He's hardly an emotional guy, so this is a big thing for him to say. My boyfriend enjoys drinking, which is fine, but the problem is that when he starts, he can hardly stop, and when he's drunk, he gets aggressive, and it's almost like he becomes a completely different person. He has often admitted to being verbally aggressive when he's under the influence, and then express remorse the next day before we patch up. He always says that he never means it, and he knew what would hurt me, and deliberately would say them just to hurt me in a moment of anger. He has even said that he is aware that once he starts, he simply cannot stop, and that the only solution is to stop drinking altogether. Here's the issue though, when he starts drinking now, I panic because I know what is coming, and I try to stop him, but he just gets angry, and I get upset at him starting to drink again. and then tries to claim that I'm the reason he starts to drink more. It's basically a vicious cycle. Last week, when he was drinking and starting to provoke me, I tried to de-escalate the situation by removing myself from his presence altogether. He was still angry though, and kept drinking, and he was very aggressive when he got home. He said that he wasn't mad at me at all, but just overall very mad, but he didn't know what he was mad at. I suggested he start going to therapy, and I even said that I would call for him and sign him up if he kept drinking in excess and getting aggressive. But he thinks that I'm the reason behind his problems with drinking because he needs to escape from my annoyance. He has still been drunk despite me having nothing to do with the situation though. He says he wants to break up with me, saying I'm just a party pooper and that I bring negativity into his life. This week we tried to come to a compromise on how much is a healthy amount when he drinks, but he simply could not keep to it and tried to hide the fact that he was drunk, despite the fact that his smell and behavior were dead giveaways. Am I at fault or in the wrong for being concerned about his drinking habits? What should I do? You are definitely not at fault for his issue. He's trying to blame you for his problems in a way that is just completely toxic. Legitimately, his priority in life is getting his substance. It's not rational or logical, and it seems like anyone that tries to get between him and his substance is the enemy in his eyes. So he will literally say or do anything to silence that enemy and to keep his substance available, including lying and not excluding violence, which honestly, this could easily lead to that. He's verbally aggressive now, but where does it go from there? It sounds like this is something that he has a serious problem with, and he's just looking for some kind of scapegoat so he can rationalize why he's doing it. And I can tell you right now that you're not at fault for his addiction. If you dumped him tomorrow and left, he would probably still blame you for this. So I don't blame you for raising your concerns about his problem, because this is such a bad thing in your relationship, and it's obviously causing a rift between the two of you. But unfortunately, unless he decides to get help, there's only so much you can do. You can try literally every tactic on planet Earth, but unless he is willing to take the steps to get this out of his life, he will continue to do it. And that includes blaming you for his addiction. I bought my fiance a trip to France for his 40th birthday, and it all went terribly wrong. My fiance and I have been together for 5 years, and he's always said how much he wants to go to Paris. For months, I've been planning the best dates and itinerary for a surprise trip at the end of August to celebrate his 40th birthday. I finally have enough money to be able to do something like this for someone, and it felt like the biggest blessing to be able to travel with him to a place he's been dying to see. He hates surprises. He hates parties, events, anything like that. So I told him the dates weeks ago, but not the location, and thankfully he was okay with the dates. I told him I would tell him all about the details of the trip on July 31st. I was giving him a month's notice so he can plan all that he needs to do. I have been so excited to give him this gift. I even created a fake boarding pass and had it printed. He eventually opened it while I was asleep. First thing he says to me when I wake up is that he's confused. He starts screaming at me about how stupid this was and how he's rethinking our whole relationship because I don't listen to him and that I don't know him. He stated that he has a lot going on with work, and he does to his credit, and that 10 days in France is just nuts. He mentioned that I robbed him of a trip he wanted to give me and said that this trip was not for him but for me. For context, I don't treat myself very often, and a trip like this is not something I would do for myself, but rather for my partner, who, by the way, has always mentioned going to Paris as a dream for him. The trip argument turned into a full-fledged fight about how he's second-guessing a future with me, all because of how unacceptably stupid this was. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone right now. I am confused as to how a birthday trip that's still a month away gets me in the wrong. I really thought we were gonna have a good time, but I'm just so surprised. What should I do? I can totally understand that your fiance does not like surprises. Like, there are some people like that who just don't like it. But this is absolutely unacceptable. The way he handled this is incredibly inappropriate and immature. There's no reason to start screaming at your partner all because they planned a trip to a place you've always dreamed of going to. And I think the original poster in this situation didn't do anything wrong. They were legitimately just trying to give them something that they've always wanted. They were trying to be a good partner. But this guy just absolutely blew it out of the water and completely ruined everything. And honestly, if he's this unhappy with this trip, then I would personally cancel the trip. Can you imagine traveling to another country with him? I can only imagine how unbearable he would be going into this. I mean, you did everything right. You told him the the dates you would go, so it really wasn't a surprise. The only surprise associated with this is the fact that you're going to Paris. So this is honestly not your fault, and your fiance is incredibly ungrateful. If my partner set up a trip for me to go to my dream city that I've always wanted to go to, I would be so absolutely grateful and go with a smile on my face. It's a city I've always wanted to go to. Why would I not be happy? So overall, I wouldn't be upset about this. You didn't do anything wrong, and if anything, your fiance is acting like an idiot. And if it's really that bad, just go ahead and cancel the trip. It's not worth the hassle to get screamed at and yelled at, only for your fiance to treat you like garbage, all because you're trying to give them the gift that they've always wanted. My entitled sister thinks that she, as well as the rest of her family, is entitled to my husband's paycheck. And after years of financial abuse, as well as them taking advantage of me and my husband, we have simply had enough and put our foot down and told them no more. Here's what happened. My sister and I have always had a rocky relationship. Her husband and my husband are brothers, so we've always had that distinct closeness. Due to poverty, I only graduated from a 2-year course. My husband is the successful one in the entire family, basically. He graduated from college with a Bachelor of Science in Marine Engineering and is now a chief engineer. He works overseas while I manage a small store at home. Meanwhile, my sister and her husband didn't graduate. Their source of income had always been from selling fruit shakes in front of schools. It wasn't a steady income, but their daily needs are still met. Since my husband and I have the capacity to help, I've asked my husband to help my relatives. He agreed, and now we finance the education of more than 10 people. Our relatives, the neighbors' children, people we hire as help, you name it. Aside from that, we also help my sister's family with everything we can, even on demand. Back in 1999, I was pregnant with my first child. We used to live in a small town far from the nearest hospital, which was kilometers away in a city. So my husband and I decided to move into the city to be near basic commodities like schools, hospitals, and markets. There were markets and schools in the small town, by the way, that we did live in, but the city just had better accommodations. My sister was livid when I told her the news of us moving. She reasoned that, well, what about her family? Their income won't let them survive that long. I was so stressed, and weeks passed by that I forgot it was the 9th month of my pregnancy. And on December 6th, I hurried to the hospital. My friend already agreed that I'd be staying in their house for now. The next day, my first child was born. I asked my cousin and my friend to fetch my belongings from the house, because I had already decided to move to the city for my baby. When my friend and cousin went to the house and fetched my clothes, my sister went on a tantrum. She threw all my clothes outside and basically said that she hopes that terrible things happen to my newborn child. I was devastated, of course, when I heard that, but life went on and I forgave her for that. Years later, I already had my second child. My sister's second child was about to go to college, so I financed her education. She wasn't able to finish college because of her choice, but I just brushed it off, despite having to buy the things that she would need for her school. Years later, her third child was ready to go to college as well. Now, this is where things started to go down south. My niece, let's call her Sarah, that's not her real name, during her second year in college, started to date. She was a lesbian and started dating this girl a few blocks from our house. By the way, we moved to another city still close to our hometown. My niece lived with us during this time, and I was pregnant with my third child. Little did I know, my niece would go out at night, leaving the gate open, and she would go clubbing with her girlfriend. I only found this out when my cousin told me that the gate was open one night. I scolded her about this, and this was also the time when I found out about her relationship. I told her that it was no problem and it's totally fine that she started dating, but I want her to focus on her studies, which means her girlfriend can't be in the house to be a distraction, and she can't go clubbing either. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I called her mother, but instead of apologizing to me, she got angry and told me to get off my niece's love life, basically telling me that she can do whatever she wants. And of course, I was offended by this. What if she gets into trouble? What if she gets hurt? Who do you think's going to be accountable for this? That's right, me. We had months of quarrel over this, but thankfully my niece graduated. Around 2013 to 2014, I found out I got breast cancer. I was devastated, of course, and I had surgery and went through chemotherapy. During this time, another one of my brother-in-laws had a medical emergency. While I was in chemo, I also helped him with his disease. I don't know exactly the reason reason but my sister's husband gathered his brothers and sisters, not including my husband, and plotted something against me. I heard that my brother-in-law actually said verbatim when he found out I got out of surgery, so is she unalive? I did not know what they were plotting, but when they invited me to come to their house, I didn't go. All I know is that they think I'm hogging my husband's money for myself. Yes, you heard that right. They said as siblings, they have rights to my husband's paycheck, which by the way goes into our joint account. This whole scenario just dug the hole deeper in my opinion. And the list goes on of all the times we finance certain situations in these people's lives. At this point, I have had enough. I have had enough of their demands and I have had enough of their bickering. I just don't know what to do anymore. So the last time my sister and I spoke, I told her to never contact me again. And if a rift between us is what they want, well guess what? I will give it to them. I said that our relationship as sisters is severed and I don't want anything to do with them. My sister got offended by this and lectured me about family values and whatnot, even after I've given them so much money and time. Till now, I've still not talked to her or her family. I did speak to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, but only for a brief moment. Honestly, I cannot believe how entitled and absolutely money-hungry these people are, but hopefully they stay out of my life. This is such a crazy story because I can only imagine financing that many situations and still having anything for myself. I mean, I can't believe that your extended family honestly thought they were entitled to your husband's paycheck. Clearly, your husband is doing really well with his job, and it is absolutely disgusting that they're just trying to leech off of you and your husband's success. Also, they then can take advantage of your money and not even follow through with half of the things they do. Like for the actual life-threatening emergencies, I totally understand that. But for these kids who went to college only to then drop out or to not take it seriously, like after the first one, personally, I would have been done giving them any money. At that point, I would have been just like, okay, get some student loans and figure it out. I'm not paying for this. They didn't take it seriously and they just basically took advantage of these people. And this happened for so long. Some of these situations quite literally date all the way back to the late 90s. I just don't know if I would have put up with this for that long, family or not. So good for this original poster for setting some serious guidelines and some boundaries with her extended family. You and your husband work way too hard to make what you do, and the last thing you need is some entitled, undeserving extended family member trying to rip money out of your pockets, all because they think they deserve it, which by the way, they definitely don't. My coworker is actively talking badly about me behind my back after I tried to approach her and clear the air for a previous issue. Now I'm not sure what to do, and I feel like I'm being intentionally left out of just about everything to do with my office. What should I do? Let me start off with some background information. The coworker was my mentor during my internship and still unofficially is. We're around the same age. I'm in my mid-20s postgraduate and she's in her late 20s. And we have been working super closely together for the better part of a year. This is my first legitimate career job and she has seniority over me. For the sake of the story, I will call her Sarah. That's not her real name. One thing about Sarah is that she talks a lot and can be very verbally reckless about her own business as well as other people's business, so I've always been wary to share anything legitimate with her. She has been kind of pushing us to be best friends, but I've been very hesitant. The only personal things she knows about me are things that I told her during my internship when I wasn't yet aware of her nature and felt obligated to do so. My point of all this is to say that she often puts her foot in her own mouth. Anyway, the other day, Sarah was chatting away and she mentioned family. I thought I would do the social thing and mention something silly and harmless about one of my family members, just to add to the conversation. But Sarah responded with snarky judgment and called my family member dumb, and that her family member would never do something like that. I was kind of stunned in the moment, but afterward the comment kept nagging at me and started to upset me. After all, she's told me all sorts of dumb stories about her family, but I never straight up insulted them or compared them to my own. She slightly hesitated before saying dumb, so I'm sure she knew on some level that it was out of line. So I thought it would be the adult, mature thing to do to just nip the situation in the bud and confront it head on. All this to avoid some kind of situation later down the line. So I approached her and just asked if she could turn around so I could speak with her for just a moment about something that bothered me. I told her that I just wanted to speak about it now, so there wasn't a problem in the future. I said that I know her intent wasn't malicious, but what she said about my family member felt very inappropriate and that it really bothered me. I asked that she be a bit more thoughtful in the future future. I assured her that all was good and made certain to keep my voice calm, even, and polite all throughout. The whole conversation lasted about 2 minutes. She didn't say much. She just looked shocked but apologetic. After that, I considered the issue taken care of, and I didn't think much on it later. However, a little while later in the day, one of the other co-workers we work semi-close with, I'll call her Rebecca, came to our work area, and I could faintly hear Sarah tell Rebecca that I was mad at her. A bit later, I could hear her angrily typing away in our private communications at the office and see her minimizing the window whenever I walked near her area. So I'm certain she was divulging everything to Rebecca about the situation. The funny thing is that it seems that Sarah got herself all worked up about me confronting her and somehow turned it into her being upset at me for apparently having the audacity to confront her about her comment. Since I have to work so closely with this person, I didn't want a tense work environment. I tried again to clear the air and just be mature by messaging and clarifying things with her and getting her take. She claimed that she was 100% fine with me approaching her about the comment and that she likes how open and honest I am, but that she got super upset about the way I approached her. She thought it was sudden, which was unfair to her, and that I should give a warning beforehand so she can prepare herself to give her full attention. To be completely honest, I didn't really get it, since I did give her a preface before airing my grievances, but I just said it looks like we both have things to work on. She agreed, we laughed about some silly stuff, and then things seemed to be settled finally. Except they weren't. The vibe is now completely different. I tried to be normal after our conversation, and she still acts somewhat normal directly to my face. However, her and Rebecca seem to have bonded during Sarah's anger at me, and now I'm getting iced out of certain conversations and left out of activities. There is now a lot of awkward and tense silence when I'm in the room. I also overheard Sarah snarking about my work habits to Rebecca behind my back. I'm not good at being fake nice, so after hearing her talk smack about me, I've been trying to stop participating with all this fake buddy-buddy stuff and focus on my work. But then they treat me like a weirdo and tiptoe around me for not playing along, despite knowing that they're trashing me behind my back. Ultimately, I don't care much about these things on a personal level. However, professionally, she's still meant to teach and mentor me, so I don't know how to proceed. This working environment is completely unsustainable, and I don't know what to do. In my opinion, you need to go to HR right now, as well as document everything you've heard and seen with timestamps included. The way she's treating you is absolutely workplace abuse, and you should not have to put up with that. You've tried to be mature. You have approached her twice already to try and clear the air, but she is actively going behind your back to talk badly about you to fellow coworkers. You have rights and you don't have to put up with that. I also know exactly who you're dealing with right now. I've had coworkers like this, and let me tell you something, you learn very quickly that you don't want to be friends with them. They're the kind of person who would stir up drama just for the sake of having something to talk about, and they will drag you through the dirt simply because they can. And then they'll turn around and act like the victim of the situation, claiming you've done something that you haven't done. I know exactly what you're dealing with, and I'm so sorry you're in that situation. But you can get ahead of this. And just because she has seniority does not mean that she is exempt to all the rules that all of you follow. You better believe they can pull up her private messages and see exactly what she's saying about you to Rebecca. You don't have to put up with that. You don't have to deal with someone spreading false rumors about you, and you absolutely can fight this head on. So that's what I would do if I was in your situation, and I really feel for your situation because I know exactly what you're going through. So I genuinely wish you the absolute best, and I hope this situation works out because you deserve to work in an environment where you're not going to be treated like garbage on a daily basis. And I really hope this situation can be resolved and you're able to find that work environment that works best for you. I think that my boyfriend is cheating on me, but the only proof I have is based on who is following him on Instagram, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. My boyfriend and I have been together for just over 1 year. Lately, he has become very distant and withdrawn. He barely invites me over anymore. He doesn't call me by my pet name and seems totally disinterested when we are together, and even says ew when I tell him that I love him or that I miss him. He used to tell me how cute I was when I called him cute first, but again, Now he just says, ew. Having been cheated on before, I know the signs. I think he is pulling away from me because there is someone else in his life. He says he's become depressed, but I have a gut feeling he's more interested in someone else. As I said, I have no physical evidence of him cheating, aside from several new female Instagram followers that popped up on his page today. One of the new followers is a woman who posts inappropriate pictures, if you know what I mean, and the other one has a private account. Neither of them returned the follow, but I have a horrible feeling about this. How do I confront my boyfriend about my suspicions about him cheating on me? What should I do? So let me get this straight. You have no evidence that your boyfriend is cheating on you, and your only suspicion is what could possibly be bot accounts that are following your boyfriend on Instagram? Like, are you kidding me? I'm really sorry that you got cheated on in the past, but new people following your boyfriend on Instagram does not mean that he's cheating on you. I mean, it sounds like he's just depressed and that's what he's communicated with you. That or he's just not interested in you anymore. I mean, I really don't think it's appropriate for him to be like, ew, anytime you tell him that you love him or you miss him. And you can obviously have a conversation about that, but to jump to some weird conclusion that, oh yeah, he's gotta be cheating on me, seems really counterintuitive, and if anything, is just gonna cause problems in the relationship. Like, how would you feel if your boyfriend came to you tomorrow and said, oh, you had 2 new guy followers on your Instagram. You're cheating on me, right? Like, that would make him sound really crazy, wouldn't it? Because that's how you're sounding right about now. So if anything, I think you just need to have a conversation with him and ask him how he is and what you can do to help him. Because it sounds like he's struggling with depression and he just needs time to figure that out. I also don't know if him saying ew to you saying that you love him or you miss him is his way of trying to be funny or cute in some way. Like, I know of couples who have a relationship where they're sarcastic about how they love each other, but in the end they still love each other. So maybe he's trying something like that. But in my opinion, it's a very bad idea to go at this with the idea of, oh, he's definitely cheating on me, all because of who's following him on Instagram. That's irrational and that's absolutely crazy. I think my colleague is starting to develop a crush on me, and I'm not sure how to break this off or what to do. So I have this colleague that sits next to me. We got along pretty well from the start, as she was in charge of teaching me the ropes around the office. We also live in the same neighborhood, so we either carpool or take the same train. She is indeed very pretty and charming, and I feel like I can talk to her about everything. However, I've never seen her as more than a friend. I am happily engaged and she is married and has a child. However, lately our lofty conversations have turned into sudden slips of the tongue when she says something naughty or suggestive, if you know what I mean. And while I may class it as just people enjoying some flirting with no further interest, I can also see other signs which I've recognized in myself and other people when we were starting to fall for each other. In conversations, she always brings me up. When she hangs out with her friends, they all start to giggle like schoolgirls when they see me. She drops everything, including phone calls when I talk to her. She always asks me for small favors or asks me small technical questions, despite the fact that I know she is probably better than me in the field, or she offers to do little favors for me without asking. She finds any occasion to spend time with me, and she is overly touchy, and when I don't pay her any attention because of work, she gets all sulky. When she is focused on her work, she ignores everybody but the bosses and myself. But the moment I started talking about any of this is the fact that when we are talking about something trivial and her husband called her on her phone, she would put her phone on silent. I usually react neutrally to these gestures, but sometimes I cannot help myself making a cheeky remark. Now, you may say I'm imagining it, but I get this constant uncomfortable feeling that she might not be entirely happy in her marriage. And since I am the most constant male presence in her life, other than her son and her husband, she might just have her eyes set on me. And since she sits right next to me, it probably doesn't help that much. I've heard of and I've experienced the attraction by proximity in the past. The problem here is that I've never really thought much of her outside of working hours and the occasional meeting outside of work. But lately, thoughts of her have started creeping up in my mind. Not romantic, but more like I wonder whether she feels that dreaded melancholy feeling when you want someone and can't be with them. And I fear I may be falling for her as well, because as I said, she can be quite charming. And the biggest issue here is that I cannot just distance myself from her since we're forced to work together. I really wish I could explain it rationally to her, but then would I come across as an idiot, especially in a professional environment? I never thought at 30 I'd have such a teenage love-related question, but I suppose an objective opinion might be helpful. What should I do? I think you probably need to make it more clear that you're in love with your fiance and that you're getting married. If it really is the case where she's interested in you, then make it more obvious that you're off the market. I think maybe this is a case where you're reading a little too much into this, and she might just be this charming, flirty person with just about everybody she comes in contact with. I've dealt with people like this before, and honestly, it can be very confusing. So just be careful in this situation. There is a very high likelihood that she is not actually falling in love with you, and that she just acts like this with people that she cares for, or at least considers a close friend at work. Also, I think you need to take a few steps back. You just admitted that you're falling for this lady. You have a fiance. What happened to being loyal and being ready to get married? I think you need to re-examine your own relationship, as well as set some boundaries with your coworker, which, by the way, she is just a coworker, so letting your thoughts wander is like not a good sign. If anything, I would go to HR and be like, hey, is there a chance I could work in a different section? Make up some ridiculous excuse like, yeah, I don't really like my desk setting. It's in a place in the office where I'm really distracted. I need a little bit more privacy. And then maybe you can just move your stuff and still work with her, but you won't have to sit right next to her. That might be a solution for you. Either way, I think you need to remember your fiance in this situation and bring her up a lot more. Because if you're not careful, this situation could become a lot worse than you really want it to be. And I don't think anybody wants ruined relationships and damaged homes. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, make sure to subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.